starts right now.
Family secrets are spilling out.
I need my daddy.
A teenager with a strange demeanor.
She's clutching a teddy bear.
How can she be actually 18 years of age?
And an even stranger story about her missing mother.
I didn't know Bonnie was going to go missing.
Something happened to her. She didn't just disappear on her own free will.
So you knew something was really wrong?
Pretty much.
Has she ever disappeared before?
No.
Whoever has my sister, please let her go.
Maybe somebody saw her somewhere at a bus station, at a train station, in a cab, at the mall.
Nathan, you've agreed to walk us through a few areas. We're running out of time.
He said, at times I feel like I have the devil living inside me.
Turns out Bonnie wasn't the only missing person in that household.
Police in Albany, the public's help finding a missing woman. Bonnie Woodward was last seen Friday afternoon.
It's a missing persons case that will confound an Illinois community,
I didn't see anything.
flooding seasoned investigators with no shortage of witnesses.
And then possibly tried to get rid of her, you know.
These interviews happening in this room right here, focusing on one person, one mother of four, whose sudden and perplexing disappearance sets off alarm bells. It all started at the end of a day's shift, one afternoon in June.
Bonnie Woodward got off around 3 p.m. that day. She was working at what was called Eunice Smith Nursing Home here in Dalton. It was a normal day of work for her.
47 years old, worked at the nursing home for over 25 years, I believe, and just a woman who was reliable.
Being a nurse's aide that's a lot of caregiving.
She did it forever. She loved what she did.
She went to work, she worked her shift, and then would come home to her children every night, as well as Gary Wilmerth, who she was dating at the time.
Gary knew that she had some sort of staff meeting after work from 2 to 3, so he really wasn't expecting her home until, 3:34.
That boyfriend, Gary Wilmerth, says he tries getting a hold of Bonnie around 4 o'clock. But his call goes straight to voicemail.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Everybody was like, she would call if she was 5 minutes
Oh
late.
no, everything she did was on a schedule.
Nobody had seen her. This was very abnormal for Bonnie. She was always in communication with her family.
After she didn't return home, her family members, they reached out, they tried to call her, they tried to text her, and no response.
And by the next morning, when Bonnie doesn't show up for work, her co-workers are alarmed by something they see in the parking lot.
Her red Chevy Avalanche was still parked at the nursing home, had not moved from the previous date. Windows had been down, even during the overnight hours.
She loved that truck. Like, she worked really hard to get that truck. She absolutely loved it. So she wouldn't have just left it.
At that point, it was clear that there was something wrong. And Gary reported her disappearance to our department the morning of the 26th. When we work on the missing person and we're dealing with an adult, you have to keep in mind the possibility if they just want to take a break. They want to get away from family and friends, and that's natural. Also have to look into what's usual and what's their history.
Detectives assigned to the case soon learn that 47-year-old Bonnie Woodward is a force of nature.
Bonnie survived breast cancer. She was a fierce mother to 4 children.
Bonnie has 2 grown children from her first marriage, Joseph, who's 28, and Jennifer, 26. Bonnie is also mom to 2 stepkids, Heather and Aaron. She adopted them after their father, Bonnie's 3rd husband, passed away.
Heather was about 17 years old at this time, and Aaron was special needs, and she cared for him every day.
Bonnie is also a devoted grandmother. She grew up as one of 9 siblings, so she has a large, extended family. What kind of aunt was she?
She was the aunt that took a second to actually listen to you if something was going on.
And she had a big personality.
Oh, yeah, no, huge personality. Very loving. Her house is where a lot of the cousins all congregated. She had this little case in her living room, and she'd have little figurines and random stuff that had dolphins on it. None of it made sense to me, but she loved them.
So she was the social hub.
Kind of, yeah. She kind of liked having everybody around.
So you knew something was really wrong?
Pretty much.
With the clock ticking, the Alton detectives start their missing person investigation where you'd expect, at the last place she was reportedly seen.
This is where Bonnie worked?
Yes, this Unismith Nursing Home.
And she was a very consistent employee.
Yes, didn't miss any work at all, and certainly wouldn't miss without calling in.
And so where was her car parked?
It was in the spots here.
And the windows were rolled down?
Yeah, windows were rolled down, so you would have to imagine that she expected to come back to the vehicle.
Back here, presumably no surveillance was captured.
No, at that time there was no surveillance back here that we could rely on.
Without any surveillance footage, officers are hopeful that Bonnie's car may actually give them some clues as to what may or may not have happened.
The vehicle, there's no significant damage to it or anything like that that would cause us any alarm. And upon looking at the inside, there was no evidence of a struggle. So we ended up having this vehicle towed to our police department, secured until we could process it and also dust it for prints.
One of the early things was how Bonnie Woodward was really regular with cashing her paycheck. The day she disappeared was payday, and she would, every time she was paid on Fridays, she would take that check to the bank.
That was a ritual.
Ritual. The check never got cashed. She never went to the bank.
Nothing happened with any of her phone, social media, bank accounts, all went dead as of 4 p.m. that day.
And so then we have to look at what other troubles that she may have in her life. We have to look at prior relationships. We have to look at Gary Wilmarth, her current boyfriend.
And so what did you find when you dug into Gary's background?
Gary's got a colorful past. He's a convicted felon, and they've had some domestic issues.
And just for the record, sir, what is your name, your full name?
Gary, G-A-R-Y.
Okay.
Wilmarth, W-I-L-M-U-R-T-H.
Bonnie was the love of my life, and she was a good-hearted woman. And, I mean, she put up with me, and I mean, that wasn't easy.
When Gary's talking to police, he tells them that they've been an on and off couple for about 7 years.
Everything good over the past 10 months between you two? Ever any arguments or fights or domestics?
Little money problem, you know, because construction's slow.
Right.
But we've been working it out.
I mean, I'm not a good boy. I mean, I've had a record myself in the past. I've paid my time, and Bonnie knew that. Bonnie still loved me. She didn't care what I did in my past. And these cops sure did.
Have you heard anything from her at all since then? Nothing.
Bonnie's daughter, Jennifer, alibied him at home.
And Gary was waiting for her to get home.
She said they were both there the whole day together.
And ultimately, he did end up doing a polygraph examination and passed it.
But as investigators start talking to Bonnie's co-workers, they learn she was last seen getting into a strange car with an unknown man.
I guess I had never seen the man before.
The police wondered, could Bonnie be having an affair? Or was it something worse?
Nothing is out of the realm of possibility. How did she know this person?
I mean, Mom had to have known the person she got into the car with.
Going into its third day, a baffling mystery is unfolding in Alton, Illinois, a river town outside St. Louis. Nurse's aide and mom of 4, Bonnie Woodward, vanishes in broad daylight just before her 48th birthday.
Alton, it's a nice little town. It's situated on the Mississippi River and the Illinois River. It has a vibrant downtown, a lot of history, and it's a great place to live and work.
So, with no sign of Bonnie anywhere, her family goes to the media, her older brother tearfully pleading with the public.
I want my sister. Somebody please call us and let us know what's going on. We don't know nothing.
Nobody wanted this case solved more than her siblings.
Whoever has my sister, please let her go.
Bonnie's sister, Rebecca, and her niece, Rachel, don't hesitate to join in on the efforts, making the 700-mile drive to Alton from their home in Louisiana. Why were you concerned enough to get in the car and start driving?
Well, because she wouldn't just not come home. I just remember having a stack of flyers and going around and putting them on every telephone pole that I could.
The police naturally talked to the people that had last seen Bonnie.
Can I get your last name?
Bosley, B-A-U-S-I-L-Y.
Wanda Bosley was one of the co-workers that worked with Bonnie at the Eunice Smith Nursing Home.
We have to find out how Bonnie was during the day. Was she acting appropriate? Was she, upset about anything?
Okay, and so you went into this meeting, she was in the meeting. You got out around 3 o'clock, and what happened then?
So, well, at first, like in the meeting, I just want to say when she talks, she's loud, and she seemed different to me. She was quiet, and her voice was more mellow like mine now, and I remember thinking, man, Bonnie seems a little different today.
After that staff meeting, Wanda says she headed to the back parking lot to get into her car. Out of the corner of her eye, she spots Bonnie. And she's not alone.
She was standing, like, say if this is the back of her truck, the guy was standing here. And I was looking, and Bonnie had walked up the side of her truck to the driver's door. And the guy was just standing there. I didn't see anything strange, but it kind of seemed strange because I guess I had never seen the man before.
Can you describe the guy for me?
He was a white male. He looked like he wasn't very tall, maybe 5'8", 5'9" or so. Mm-hmm. He was like a medium-sized guy. His hair was a salt and pepper, more grayer than black.
Turns out, Wanda is not the only coworker to have witnessed this strange sighting. Multiple people report to police seeing this mystery man sitting in a gray or silver sedan similar to a Chevy Malibu, waiting for Bonnie to get out of her staff meeting.
So the gray Chevy Malibu was directly to the right of her vehicle.
Plenty of people saw him.
Yeah, after the meeting, people would see her interacting with him outside both vehicles and ultimately got into the car with him.
She did get into the car willingly, and it did not appear that she was forced or anything like that.
Police in Alton need the public's help finding a missing woman, 48-year-old Bonnie Woodward.
The information regarding the person that people had seen on that parking lot was crucial.
She reportedly was seen talking to someone inside a gray or silver Chevy Malibu.
So talking to the family and friends, did anybody like a past relationship match the description?
And you don't know anybody off the top of your head who would have a silver Malibu?
Her ex-boyfriend, Chester, Nick Adams. Chester's dad has a 2009 Impala. If you put an Impala and the Malibu side by side, there's just a little bit of difference. It'd be hard to tell the difference.
That's true. Who does this guy sound like to you?
Chester McAdams. That's the only guy I can figure out that fits the description. It's Chester. I mean, I don't like to pinpoint a guy out, but Chester fits every description. And like the silver Impala, his dad has a silver Impala.
Do you know that for sure?
Yeah, because he used to date my mom.
Chester McAdams piques the detective's interest not only because he dated Bonnie for a year, but he also has an extensive criminal record.
Bonnie started to see him, and then I showed back up in the picture and ran him off.
Me and Bonnie's been together probably 7 or more years. We parted about a little over 2 years, and that's when she got with that Chester guy. And
you and Chester ever have words?
Oh, big time.
Big time hate each other?
Oh, I mean,
fist fights?
I run into him in the bar. He was mad because me and Bonnie got back together.
So I kind of thought maybe he was upset and might have did something to her.
And sir, for the record, I just need your last name.
McAdam. Capital M, small c, capital A-D-A-M-S.
And your first, sir?
Chester.
With Chester, it was a very rocky relationship that Bonnie had with him.
We'd break up, she'd kick me out, and I'd be gone for a week or so, and then I'd be moved back in.
I've been down that road.
Okay, so then, then it would be 2 or 3 months, and then I'd be kicked out again, and then back and forth. And then about 2 months before Gary got out, she kicked me out, and then Next thing I know, Gary's living there.
The family largely was saying, hey, you guys need to look at Chester McAdams. When we found Chester McAdams, he's got a beard, he's got a ponytail.
Chester clearly doesn't match the description of the man co-workers saw days earlier in the parking lot with Bonnie. But what about that tip from Bonnie's daughter, Jennifer, who said Chester's father drives a silver Chevy Impala? Detectives want to talk it over with father and son.
Do you ever drive his truck or Impala, anything like that? Do you ever allow him to borrow it for any reason?
No. I would never ask my dad to borrow his vehicle.
He'd say no.
Well, I know it's saying no right off the bat. So,
Right.
You know.
Don't even bother asking.
Don't even bother asking.
Well, I mean, we're investigating this missing person. It could be more than missing. I mean, we could have a big problem.
Yes.
And it could be nothing. It could be nothing.
Right. I mean, I hope it's nothing.
Chester McAdams was willing and cooperative with us, ultimately did not have direct access to a vehicle that was like that, and also we checked in with his employer and they confirmed that he was at work, so that was a dead end for us.
The family of a missing Alton woman is now offering a $5,000 reward to anyone who can find her.
You have crime in this area, but you don't have missing adults too often. We have people that run away, but they're always found. But this one, she just fell off the face of the earth.
We need to find my sister. We're running out of time. Everybody knows the first 3 days is critical.
With both Gary and Bonnie's ex cleared, detectives are hitting walls left and right. But they're about to be floored by some information that reveals a disturbing coincidence in the Woodward family.
Turns out Bonnie wasn't the only missing person in that household.
Correct.
I need my daddy.
Bonnie Woodward's disappearance is the talk of the small town in Illinois she called home.
Bonnie Woodward has been missing.
Friends and family were gathering to pray for her return. We need to find my sister. We're running out of time.
Investigators are frustrated and increasingly concerned.
We were doing missing person flyers, talking to local media. We were trying to push this out there as much as we can.
Maybe somebody saw her somewhere at a bus station, at a train station, in a cab, at the mall. We're trying to get any kind of lead that'll take us where we need to go.
But they're all kind of wild goose chases.
Right.
It's as if she's vanished into thin air.
Right, and it wasn't without leads. Somebody would say they saw somebody similar in Pontoon Beach, Applebee's in Kansas City, but none of them appeared to have much merit.
We had to expand our investigation and look into everything about her life that was going on at that time.
You discover, wait, she's not the only missing person in that household.
Right, right. It turns out that her stepdaughter, Heather Woodward, had been reported missing to the East Alton Police Department more than a week before.
East Alton Police Department, which is a separate police department from ours. So we were not aware of that at the time that Bonnie went missing. There was nothing 100% that told us that the two were linked. So at that point, we're having to do a dual investigation.
This is a huge coincidence in a small town that a mother and stepdaughter go missing in the same house.
Huge, huge. Remember, Heather Woodward is Bonnie's 17-year-old stepdaughter. Bonnie adopted Heather and her brother Aaron after their dad passed away when Heather was just 8.
After Bonnie adopted them, it was made very abundantly clear they're in the family. Like, those are her kids.
The house is a busy one, with Bonnie's adult daughter Jennifer and her 2 little girls, plus Heather, Aaron, and boyfriend Gary, all living under one roof. And the family tells detectives there was friction between Heather and Bonnie.
It was an unhappy teenager, and it was a stepmom giving her chores to do, and there was a little resistance. At some point they argue, and Heather wants to move out, and Bonnie initially doesn't resist the idea.
Our investigation revealed that around June 10th, Heather went with her teacher, that was Christine Scheffel, and Bonnie knew about this.
That teacher pictured in the high school yearbook along with Heather. Heather moved in with her just 2 weeks before Bonnie vanished. And now that both Bonnie and Heather are missing, investigators have lots of questions.
I'm here with the Christine Scheffel.
I wanted to get the history of how she became engaged with Heather's life. And then the number one question is, where is she now? She was last with you. Where is she at?
I had Heather in Alpha 1 class as a freshman. For the entire year, she has been very vocal to myself and all the other teachers of the abuse that goes on at home. Things like being slapped or thrown against a wall or woke up at 3 in the morning to wash every dish in the house. Just plain crazy stuff.
And who's the one she's alleging that does all this?
Bonnie.
We knew that East Alton Police Department was aware of these reports, and we could not get anything to substantiate these reports.
Heather painted a picture of your aunt as being abusive. What do you make of those allegations of abuse?
I can't see it. I can see her being loud with anybody, child or not, and like just being vocal, but not abusive. Like there was no way.
Heather has been telling everyone for over a year that when she turns 18, she will be kicked out. She called and said that I'm getting kicked out and I need you to come get me.
The teacher is, I believe her heart was in the right place as she's trying to help this 17-year-old child.
Bonnie called us and wanted Heather back. And I did tell her she had to go back home. So she cried most of the night.
And then whenever you came back on the 17th, she was gone.
Right.
So now, according to this teacher, Heather leaves her home on the 17th. That same day, Bonnie reports Heather as a runaway.
Bonnie went knocking on doors. It was driving Bonnie nuts because she couldn't find her.
In obtaining the reports, it was clear that Bonnie wanted to find her stepdaughter. And she was not getting the information she wanted from the teacher, and she was adamant that no matter what, she was going to find her.
And now, detectives aren't making much headway in finding Heather either. The teacher who Heather had been living with says she has no idea where Heather might have gone.
There was nothing that we could really prove that she knew where Heather was, but clearly I'm still skeptical. Are they telling the whole truth?
She never called you back once to say, hey, I'm okay, or don't worry about me, or anything like that?
No.
With her lack of intent on trying to find Heather, and if she was that much of a mentor to her, why wasn't she more concerned about Heather's whereabouts if she didn't know?
To us, it seems odd. Are you concerned about her welfare? It's odd that she hasn't called you, is what I'm a little concerned with.
I believe that she's with somebody. I mean, I don't think that she's off by herself. But I think she just doesn't want to make sure I don't get in trouble or, I mean, she's a smart kid.
Heather's teacher's interview only raises more questions for investigators. Are these disappearances linked? And if so, how?
As investigators, you're fairly convinced that she might have had something to do with the disappearance, or at the very least, know something.
We think the two events have to be linked some way. Two missing persons from the same house, one a juvenile and one adult, like you almost have to believe they're related. Like it's really naive to think they're not.
After almost a week and no sign of Bonnie, her family's anguish turns pointed, lashing out at that mystery man from the parking lot.
You let my sister go, and I'll come and get her. I want my sister.
I felt like Heather had the answers that we needed. We believe she was the key to finding Bonnie.
And that's when police get a game-changing phone call from a nearby library.
I had heard it over the police scanners. It was very strange.
It seems someone showed up there with a teddy bear and a story to tell.
Pete, Mr. Bear.
Summer is in full swing here in Alton, Illinois. Backyard barbecues, 4th of July fireworks. Bonnie Woodward used to host these kinds of events, but not this year. She's been missing for a week. And in a twist, her teenage stepdaughter is missing too. Until out of the blue, 8 days after Bonnie vanished, through these doors walks the missing teenager, Heather Woodward.
The East Alton Police Department received the call from the library that there's a person saying that she's Heather Woodward. With all the speculation going around, I wanted to hear what she had to say.
They got Heather, took her to the police station, And I thought, man, they're going to find out something now.
And would you state your name, please?
Heather Woodward.
And your birthday, Heather?
Today.
Physical condition for Heather was not of anything that was of a concern. There was no injury to her. Clearly, she had been being taken care of.
What do you know about the whole situation with Bonnie and everything?
What I read in the paper.
Okay.
That's it.
And I guess you read in the paper that you were also listed as a runaway also?
And I was planning on coming home on my birthday. That was the plan, so I didn't have to go back to Bonnie's house.
I was taken back that how can she be actually 18 years of age?
Like these stupid, small, claustrophobic rooms. I need my daddy. I have to pee, Mr. Bear.
But she's clutching a teddy bear.
Yes. July 3rd is her 18th birthday, so she's a bona fide adult in the state of Illinois, but she talks more like a, well, I don't want to be insulting, but like a grade school student or a junior high student.
I'm tired. I'm ready for my nap. I need my books. I need my books. I need my books.
She showed up at a library. What did you think?
That it was absolute.
What do you mean by that?
Like, why are you showing up at a library? Who brought you? Where did you come from? Where have you been?
Something doesn't smell right.
Pretty much.
What made the decision that you would go to the library? Why not to the police department or something?
Because I always go to the library. I walk there all the time, and I wasn't comfortable walking to the police station.
Do you think you're in any trouble?
I don't know. I'm scared.
Yes, you had a lot of people concerned about you. We don't know what happened to you. We don't know what happened to Bonnie.
I haven't talked to my mom.
Heather's thought of it wasn't that big of a deal that Bonnie had disappeared. It didn't come across to me that she had a lot of concern about where Bonnie was at the time.
What do you think happened to her?
I don't know. I thought that maybe she hid to draw me out, and then she'll come out now that she knows that I'm home.
That's what you thought? Why would you think that?
Because sometimes that's just the way Bonnie is, and she can be mean, and I don't know, she's just mean.
You know, I gave her the safe space to talk to me about situations in the home, and pretty much the extent of it was that she was being made to do chores and clean the house. You know, typical things that I think a lot of teenagers and youths do and should be doing.
Because I'm not going back there to be slave labor and a free babysitter. I just couldn't do it no more.
From what she told multiple people, she was being physically and verbally, mentally abused. You know, it doesn't go beyond the realm of possibility that maybe she was embellishing more about that relationship between her and Bonnie to pull the heartstrings of people that, you know, were close to her, that could be of assistance to her.
And one of those people, police begin to realize, may have been that teacher, Christine Scheffel, who took Heather in.
Miss Scheffel's been there for me for 4 years. And she was afraid for me to go home because Bonnie can be mean and sometimes she hits.
There was an investigation into Bonnie's parenting.
Yeah, it's DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services, and they had been involved before.
And what did they find?
It was unfounded. There's no evidence of significant abuse.
Do you think Heather was manipulating adults into thinking that her stepmother was evil?
I don't know if she was intentionally manipulating adults, but that was definitely what happened.
One thing's clear to investigators. Heather was in someone else's care in the 2 weeks after she left that teacher's house, during that critical time when Bonnie went missing. So now, of course, detectives are curious. Who was she with? And why is Heather protecting them?
And then I went to stay at a friend's house.
Okay, and who was that?
Just a friend. I don't want to get him in trouble. So, just a friend. They helped me. And they knew the situation, so.
Well, you know I have to ask who it is.
She was very resistant to talk at all about where she had been or what she's been doing and who with.
They're not gonna get in trouble, are they?
Well, I don't know about that.
They don't know nothing. They don't like Bonnie. I don't want to know where Bonnie's at.
And as seasoned investigators, you thought she's hiding something?
Yes, and we had to push hard enough to get that information.
They told me they didn't know Bonnie was missing, and I don't want to get them in trouble. And then it'll be all my fault. I didn't mean to cause no trouble, and I didn't know Bonnie was gonna go missing.
So now, another layer to this mystery.
She was painting a pretty ugly picture of her stepmother.
And might that have motivated somebody to try to protect her?
Sure.
Are they just good Samaritans or something else?
There's maybe more to this than just taking care of Heather.
The trail will lead detectives down these winding roads into truly uncharted territory.
We didn't see that coming from a mile away.
Bonnie Woodward disappeared in Alton June 25th at about 3 in the afternoon after getting off work. Her family members haven't seen or heard from her since that day.
Bonnie Woodward has been missing for over a week. Her boyfriend of 7 years, Gary Wilmerth, says he catches glimpses of her in every passing stranger.
There was times I could be at a store, pass somebody on the street, could be the color of their hair. I remember talking to her grandbabies. They said, "Are you gonna bring Grandma back? You got a picture of these little bitty girls looking at me. Where's Grandma?" I just thought in my heart she was gonna come back. And I wasn't taking no for an answer. She was coming back.
And investigators say they aren't taking no for an answer either. Bonnie's now 18-year-old stepdaughter, Heather Woodward, who also strangely went missing a week before Bonnie, has now suddenly reappeared.
Okay, Heather, we just need to ask you a few things here.
After hours of questioning from detectives, Heather seems finally ready to reveal the identity of the people she says helped her run away.
They're not gonna get in trouble, are they?
I don't know about that, but I want to at least know where you been. I want to make sure that you were safe.
I stayed with some people from the church.
Do they have any kids your age?
Nathan. He's my best friend.
Okay. So it's Nathan Carroll's family? Okay.
The police department had learned that she had been at the Carroll house. Heather had told Roger Carroll and Monica Carroll that she had run away from home because Bonnie was mean to her, and that she had gone to the Carroll house to hide from Bonnie until she turned 18.
Both Monica and Roger were in the medical field, and their son Nathan was a typical 16-year-old high school student. There was no criminal history on record for them, no police involvement, no arrests or anything like that.
The Carrolls go to the same church in Wood River, so the Carrolls get to know Heather, I think, on church-related activities.
And one of those church activities they went to, a graduation party for Heather and other seniors, just 2 weeks before Bonnie went missing.
We obviously had to explore the avenue of, are they involved with Bonnie?
I think the police were like, well, they had, Heather at the house, then what else do they know?
We went to their listed address in the Jersey County area. They're living in among 60 acres of property. It's just a lot of wooded, open land.
What jumps out at you about Roger Carroll?
He's in his 40s with the brownish gray hair, 5'10"-ish. His primary car is a silver 2005 Chevrolet Malibu, which is the suspect vehicle description.
We tow the vehicle to our police department and ultimately process this vehicle for any evidence related to our case.
This investigation is now shifting into high gear. Monica and Roger Carroll come in for questioning.
You are Roger William Carroll, Jr.
I don't want to answer any more questions until we speak with our attorney.
Okay. You decided to be
invoke your right to counsel, correct?
Yes.
Heather Woodward, Bonnie's stepdaughter, is also called in again the very same day and pressed for more information about the day Bonnie went missing.
What do you know about Bonnie leaving and what happened whenever she left or was...
The resident came for, I know that she got in the car with some guy and they drove off, that's all I know.
Did they talk about the car?
Yeah, it was a silver and gray car, Malibu. That's it, that's all I know.
Does that
I know
sound like any car that you're familiar with?
No. Oh, besides Roger's car. But Roger wouldn't hurt a fly.
Investigators then confront Heather with a new piece of information. They found out that she and the Carrolls were together at a lake house in the days just before Bonnie went missing.
They went down to Monica's parents in Goreville, Illinois, on a small trip, just the four of them.
And detectives grow even more suspicious when Heather shares that Roger and his son Nathan returned home by themselves on the same day Bonnie disappeared.
Roger and Nathan came home on Friday. We came home on Saturday, me and Monica.
Why did they leave on Friday?
Monica told me that he just wanted to get home, and he made Nathan go with him.
He brought Nathan with him, got up and left at 7 o'clock in the morning on June 25th, Friday morning, the day Bonnie disappeared.
Now, the question I have here is the guy that meets with Bonnie up at the nursing home, he's in a gray Malibu, silver gray Malibu. How do I know that Roger's not the one that met with Bonnie up there that Friday?
I don't know. Bonnie's never met Roger, so I don't know why she'd get in the car with him.
What if he told her, hey, I know where Heather is. Why don't you come with me and you can pick her up?
I don't.
Do you think Bonnie would have gotten in the car with him then?
No, she doesn't care about me.
So you have a lot of circumstantial evidence, but nothing that cracks the case open.
It is all circumstantial.
There wasn't enough to link Roger Carroll or Monica Carroll to Bonnie's disappearance. However, both of them at that time were charged with harboring a runaway.
Both Roger and Monica plead not guilty to this charge, but this turns out to be a helpful tool for investigators.
In getting those charges, we can also get fingerprints, we can get photographs.
And then you put Roger in a lineup.
We did. We used this mugshot primarily with the employees at Unismith.
And that did not come up with a match.
It did not. That resulted in no positive IDs.
The family members must be chomping at the bit at this point.
They are, but sometimes the cases move when they want to move.
Did you feel like there had to have been somebody out there that knew more than they were saying?
I think anybody that is just trying to locate a loved one often feels like somebody's not talking or somebody's lying.
Summer winds to a close without Bonnie Woodward and without answers, until news of a body found on the banks of the Mississippi River here in Alton, Illinois, leaves her loved ones holding their breath.
Every time a body comes up, we call. 51 days exactly. She's been gone, and we have not one solid answer.
That body, it turns out, is not Bonnie Woodward. But a break in the case is coming. The lab results from Bonnie's abandoned truck are back, and the results are stunning.
The crime lab comes back with a very significant hit.
Yes.
You understand what we're trying to tell you right now? There's new physical evidence in this case.
I said we have to jump now. This is our time.
I'm thinking I'm gonna die. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Okay, we are recording.
I said, stop it, just stop doing this. Let me go, just let me go. I'll do anything you want me to do, just let me go.
Tonight, a third woman in danger who broke the bizarre mystery.
Bonnie Woodward disappeared in Alton
of a
June
missing
25th.
mother.
I didn't mean to cause no trouble, and I didn't know Bonnie was gonna go missing.
Who's been hiding daughter Heather? And could Bonnie have ended up in the same place?
Family members must be chomping at the bit at this point.
It was a needle in a haystack. We had 60 acres of property. We didn't know where to look, what to look for. Nathan, you've agreed to walk us through a few areas that are of interest in our investigation.
We got a hit on the prints.
And on a scale of 1 to 10 of your suspicion level, where did it go?
Yeah, it spiked.
Any idea what they were? Little pieces of white things, but I don't know exactly what it was.
The family's falling apart, and we have to jump now. This is our time.
She now is starting to put everything together, and is fearing for her own life at the same time.
He said, I have killed for you. I have killed for you.
That sounds like bingo.
Summer has turned to fall in Alton, Illinois. 48-year-old mom and nurse's aide Bonnie Woodward hasn't been seen in over 3 months. That's an eternity in a missing persons case.
We didn't know technically if she was alive or dead in the months that followed. None of her family members heard from her.
But the Illinois State Police Crime Lab has been busy processing evidence, including fingerprints found on Bonnie's truck.
In September, prints come in.
Right. I got a phone call from my evidence technician who told me we got a hit on the prints. It's Roger Carroll's. So Roger Carroll's fingerprints are on this driver's door.
And on a scale of 1 to 10 of your suspicion level, where did it go?
Yeah, it spiked.
Roger Carroll is brought in again for questioning, while police, now with probable cause, conduct a massive search at the Carroll sprawling rural residence.
It was a needle in a haystack. We had 60 acres of property. We didn't know where to look, what to look for.
Neighbors are stunned by the police operation.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Couldn't believe it, the amount of police that were coming by.
And we had more than 60 police officers.
Multiple agencies.
We had a lot of people. We had cadaver dogs.
And an airborne search.
And an airborne search, yes.
Oh, there was probably close to 30 firearms at this residence. Multiple crates of ammunition were also seen.
Oh, I thought they was going to find a body or something.
The cadaver dogs did alert on certain areas of the property, but subsequent digs of those areas revealed no results.
Meanwhile, this time in the police interrogation room for a second interview, Roger is more chatty.
My mom, she's like, oh my God, did you do this? I'm like, Mom, no, I didn't do it.
Roger tells investigators that he invited Bonnie's daughter, Heather, to stay with him and his family, only after becoming concerned about her account of a troubled home life.
So then Heather calls you guys?
Yes. I could hear her crying. She was just frantic, you know.
Right.
Oh my God. Bonnie called and said that she's going to come get me tomorrow, that I have to pack my stuff up, and you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. And
right. So she kind of played on your soft hearts and said, can I come stay there?
She never said, can I come stay? Just to be honest about it, I'm the one who said, hey, you know, this is a bunch of crap. Why don't we just go, you know, she can stay with us.
Okay, okay.
I'm the one that said that.
As far as Bonnie, you've never had a conversation with that woman, and you've never been face to face with that woman. You know where she lives, but you've never, other than you've driven by there, but 2 times, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've never been in her vehicle, and you've never had occasion to handle her vehicle or touch her vehicle.
That's correct.
But there's one little detail investigators have been deliberately coy about when talking to Roger Carroll.
So finally I was, at the end of the interview, I was like, how do we explain it that your fingerprints are all over her driver's door? He stumbled just a bit and says,
Then I've been trained. I mean, no, there's no way that my fingerprints are on that car door or my DNA is on that car door. There just is no way.
He's asking, like, my prints aren't on that door. I'm like, yeah, well, yes, they are.
I don't see, there's no way my fingerprints are all over the door of that car.
They are.
So he denied it still, and the interview terminated pretty quick after that.
Not only were his fingerprints found on her car, but he denied ever having met her or ever been there and ever been in that parking lot. So what do you make of that? What?
That he's lying?
There's a third interview with Heather. Heather stays firm during this interview that she didn't have anything to do with it.
Bonnie went missing around 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And his prints are on Bonnie's truck. What do you think?
I don't know. Because I would never want nothing to happen to Bonnie. I mean, like sometimes you know, she's mean, but I wouldn't do that to her. I didn't tell him to touch Bonnie. She was the only thing I knew. I wouldn't hurt her.
The police process Roger's gray sedan, but here's the thing. They don't find any fibers or DNA belonging to Bonnie or even her fingerprints. And they don't come up with much of the Carroll house either.
After the search in September, there was really no evidence found at the residence that 100% put Bonnie there at the Carroll property.
When you take somebody to trial for first-degree murder, you better be right and you better be ready because you only get one shot.
We still didn't have Bonnie's remains. We didn't know if Bonnie was alive or dead at that time. And what we did know is that Roger Carroll was lying. Roger Carroll, based on the lies that he told, was charged with the offense of obstruction.
Family members and friends felt that he needed to be charged with murder, but based on it only being a circumstantial case at this point, that would have been quite a stretch for us.
So the case goes cold. Your aunt is still missing. What was that like for your family?
I know that it was very hard emotionally for many family members.
It would take 8 years and one newly installed prosecutor combing through a pile of Madison County cold cases. And the first one you stumbled on was Bonnie Woodward.
First one, Bonnie Woodward.
To breathe life back into Bonnie Woodward's investigation. Jennifer Mudge decides to try to open a cold case, but even before you can relaunch anything, you get a startling phone call.
I got a call from Roger Carroll's neighbor, and he's asking me, he's like, do you know what's going on at the Carroll's house?
I said, God, Roger, stop it. Just stop doing this. Let me go. Just let me go. I'll do anything you want me to do. Just let me go. I'm fighting. I'm fighting with everything that's within me.
What are you thinking at the time?
What am I thinking? I'm thinking I'm going to die.
Roger Carroll had been charged with obstruction of justice in the disappearance of Bonnie Woodward. But now, 8 years later, he's being accused of something else altogether by, of all people, his wife of over 30 years, Monica.
In March of 2018, we received information from the Jersey County Sheriff's Department that there was a domestic situation in which Roger had caused injury to Monica.
I didn't know his connection, right? I didn't know this was the Bonnie Woodward suspect.
So I went the next day, met her several hours from here where she was kind of hiding out and interviewed.
Okay, we are recording.
He told me I was fat, disgusting, so fat and disgusting that nobody would want to have anything to do with me.
The first thing you notice on the dash cam is A, the injuries to her face, and B, beyond the injuries, just the fear.
She said for the most part it was a good marriage until there was some infidelity like a few years prior, and she had recently figured out more infidelity and then had filed for divorce.
He was really withdrawn after served him with the divorce papers. I thought he would be happy because just a couple weeks before he said, I want a divorce.
They had separate bedrooms, but while she slept in her bedroom, she not only locked the door, but she put a dresser up against the door because she was scared.
Monica tells Detective Nick Manns about the alleged attack, in which, as she's getting ready for work, she says Roger corners her in the laundry room.
Roger is looking out the garage door, like making sure Nathan has left. And he turned and he acted like he was going to have normal conversation. And he reached over to the back of my head, grabbed my hair, and jerked me, and then dragging me around by my hair with his right hand, he was hitting me in the head with the taser gun.
And how do you know it was a taser gun? What was it doing?
Because it shocked me.
So he drags it up your neck?
He drags it up my neck. He looked shocked. And I was screaming, Roger, don't do this. Roger, don't do this. I started screaming, Nathan, Nathan, screaming for Nathan as hard as I could, screaming for help.
Nathan, unfortunately,
Had blood smear.
All these red marks are from
These
your
are from
fight
him.
with him.
These are from him.
During this time, Monica does what so many victims unfortunately have to do, but it's a survival thing, is how am I going to get out of the situation? And she starts to de-escalate it slowly, verbally de-escalate the situation.
I was just thinking, don't get him agitated, talk him down. And I said, Roger, you've been a good dad. You were a good husband, but you're not the man that I married 30 years ago. And he'd said it before. He said, I know. I'm not that same person. He said, I am a monster. He said, I have so much anger and hate in me, and I can't control it no more. He said, at times I feel like I have the devil living inside me.
Eventually that got to the point where he allowed her to get up and get ready for work and go.
As soon as I got in my car, I hit the lock button, put it in reverse, and took out.
Then she provided us information that she knew him to possess firearms, and she believed him to be suicidal at the time.
He says, I've been thinking about just going out into the woods and never coming back.
Detective Mann says he went to search for Roger the morning of the alleged attack.
We believe he's a danger, obviously, to her and to our community, but also to himself. So I'm driving down this road, which is Creek Road, which is where he lives. And this is actually, that would be his house at the time. He and Monica lived there. That was their home. I keep going up this hill. You can see it's pretty rugged terrain. I don't even realize at that time that this is his property. So I go up here and I go left and I drive across this field, and I get out of my car. And when I get up along this trail, I see something down there, and I keep moving closer, and it's him. Roger was lethargic. I felt in his jacket pocket, which turned out to be a bag of needles, of syringes. Then I found a vial of what I knew to be insulin. I asked him if he was diabetic, and he said no, that he had hurt his wife and that he was trying to kill himself. But I called my dispatch and said, send an ambulance this way.
What's the ambulance? No, this guy's not diabetic. He took insulin.
Attention, Brighton Rescue, Creek Road, for 52-year-old male. Took an overdose of insulin and suicide attempt.
But what Detective Mann soon learns is that his fellow investigator, Scott Golicki, has been looking at Roger Carroll as Bonnie Woodward's possible killer.
Immediately, Scott and I said, the family's falling apart, and we have to jump now. This is our time.
Because at that point, you double down on every member of the Carroll family.
Right. We need a talker.
They need a talker, and they're about to get one. And investigators get a story they had not prepared for. Newly installed prosecutor Jennifer Mudge is working hard with police to try to solve Bonnie Woodward's cold case. They believe they can break it if a Carroll family member talks. As detectives are talking to Roger Carroll's wife, Monica, they get intriguing new info. She remembers her husband taking a peculiar interest in Bonnie Woodward's daily life before she disappeared.
Monica talked about conversations that she thought was odd about where specifically Bonnie worked, what type of work schedule she had.
I don't remember what shift she worked or, the days, but I remember those were in conversation. I just remember thinking that it was very odd that he's asking all these details.
She now is starting to put everything together and is fearing for her own life at the same time.
Looking back on it now, I've been scared for a long time, but I wasn't to the point to admit it yet.
But the really chilling words about Roger, that was still to come.
He said, I have killed for you. I have hurt a lot of people, but I killed for you. And I think that's Bonnie.
Meanwhile, Roger is released from the hospital after his insulin overdose and is brought directly into police custody.
Shoot right there.
where Detective Golicky greets him again after 8 long years.
Roger. What are we doing? What's going on? Remember me, Scott Golicky.
So after all that, you sit down with Roger years later from the last interrogation.
Yes.
Is he a different man?
Yes, we both aged a lot, and probably me more than him. After the domestic, he was clearly suicidal. And so when I see him, it's not his best day. You know, I had to say a word, but if you want to hear me out, I think it might be worth your while, but it's your prerogative. You're driving this bus. I had started it with, hey, Roger, you don't have to say anything if you don't want, but we've opened this case. This train's coming down the road. I think what's going to happen now is that this is a homicide investigation, and it's moving in that direction. I was basically telling him charges on this case are now imminent. But some of the intimate details and the specific details, only you know. It's the right thing to do for Bonnie yourself, also the right thing for you. There's no way you're enjoying living with this.
But if Detective Golicky is counting on a crisis of conscience from Roger Carroll, he's about to be disappointed.
We've opened this case. This train's coming down the road. Like, I'm giving you an opportunity to try to mitigate the circumstances. Are you comfortable with the whole situation? Like, I mean,
well, no. I mean, I'm not going to talk to you. Call my attorney, please.
Like, I interviewed him for an hour and some change, and really for 55 minutes, he just didn't speak.
Since Roger completely clams up, they bring his wife Monica in again. And turns out she does have more to share.
So you had a feeling that something
wasn't right.
Something happened. Otherwise, I think you would have questioned it. Your internal feelings.
Said that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
That things weren't right. When he said that he's killed people for me, to protect me and Nathan. I know that's not right. I know it's not right that he should kill someone, feel that he has the right to kill someone to protect me.
And you're not aware of anything else in your history with Roger or, with Nathan that he would be talking about other than Bonnie Woodward.
Right. The only person that come to my mind would be Bonnie.
Monica says Roger issues her a stark warning about Bonnie's family.
He made it sound like it'd be my fault if something happened to our family, if I ever talked. So I didn't want to be the one to be the cause of our family being torn apart. I didn't want to hear it. As I recall, I told him I didn't want to hear it.
We knew that Monica was not there at that time, and we were also pretty confident that she didn't show up until a day later.
That's when Monica describes approaching their son Nathan with her suspicions.
I told Nathan that Roger told me, I have killed for you. And he was like, don't ever repeat that, Mom. Don't ever repeat it.
But what might it take for Nathan to start talking? Investigators are drilling down on the Carroll family, and the story of what they think might have happened to Bonnie Woodward is beginning to take shape.
Monica, she's not present. She's not a co-defendant on the incident.
I honestly do believe that he did away with Bonnie Woodward. I don't know how. I don't know how.
We doubled down on the theory that Nathan was likely with Roger at the time that Bonnie disappeared.
Nathan was 16 years old at the time that this crime was committed. Nathan is now 24. You're talking about a kid versus an adult. So I think maybe you focus on him.
We made several attempts to talk to Nathan, and he refused to talk to law enforcement.
We served him with a subpoena to come testify in front of the grand jury. I made a decision to grant him immunity at the time if he would tell us the full truth. And then fate sort of took over from there.
What did he say that tipped his hand to you that he was about to spill the whole truth?
He held up the immunity paper and said, "This is good no matter what I tell you." And I said, yes. He put his hands on the rail, and boy, that testimony was gripping.
He broke down and he started crying, and he said he was going to tell us everything.
That's kind of a thing maybe you see on TV with people breaking down in the courtroom and spilling the beans in the courtroom, but it really never happens. But it did.
Sitting in the room was 12 grand jurors, myself and Jennifer, and Nathan's attorney. It was absolute silence. You could hear the clock tick.
It's like watching the weight of the world being lifted off this young man's shoulders.
He told the entire story about what happened that day.
He says that he's on vacation with his whole family. They have Heather there. And his dad said to him the night before, "You and I are leaving early tomorrow." And they drove to Eunice Smith Nursing Home, and his dad said, "Good, she's at work."
Then after they get home, Roger changed clothes, clipped his fingernails, he shaved, and retrieved his Stoeger 9mm from the house and left Nathan there by himself.
He told Nathan he was going to get Bonnie. Nathan set up a tent in the backyard.
The tent in the backyard was essentially a death trap to lure Bonnie to the backyard and not into the residence.
He's eating lunch. Next thing he hears is 8 or 9 gunshots, and they're close. They're in his driveway. He walks outside, and that's when he sees feet with tennis shoes on and tan scrubs. There are a few things that stay with me, like he remembers that he was eating leftover deli meat sandwiches from Heather's graduation party. If you're making a story up, you don't go that detailed into what kind of lunch you're having.
But the next detail may be the most disturbing of all. Nathan tells the grand jury that his dad had him light a fire in the backyard and testifies he watched as his father loaded Bonnie's body into a bucket loader, a tractor with a scoop on the front of it, and bring her to that burn pit.
And they start a massive fire. It had to be stoked all day, all night, every couple of hours. And Roger had Nathan help him do that.
When you heard the scope of what he confessed to, what went through your mind?
I don't think we thought fire or burned on a brush pile.
Talk about being haunted.
Right, like not only is Roger creating a horrible thing to him, for him to live with, it seems like he created a horrible thing for his son to live with.
After his grand jury testimony, Nathan brings investigators back to the house. What you're about to see is the actual video police captured as Nathan brings them back to where he says the crime took place, a spot first identified 8 years earlier by cadaver dogs.
During our search in September of 2010, we had 60 acres that we had to worry about. Now we have a few hundred feet. Nathan, you've agreed to just walk us through a few areas that are of interest in our investigation involving your father and the investigation of missing person Bonnie Woodward. Nathan points out the back corner of the residence where he found Bonnie's body and saw her, where the shot had come from.
This is where she laid. I never saw the full body. I was standing over there. Okay. And I saw feet.
It was in that site that we did find a 9mm cartridge, which was significant because Nathan had identified that Roger had used a 9mm handgun ultimately that day in shooting Bonnie.
The second site that Nathan took law enforcement to was what we refer to as the burn pit.
Followed by the creek, where Nathan says he saw his dad dump Bonnie's ashes.
So we had a site number 3 for where this was dumped into the creek bed. Was that tractor with the bucket end on it?
Correct. Little pieces of white things, but I don't know exactly what it was.
You don't know any idea what they were?
best guess would be bone, but I don't know.
Law enforcement were able to find 27 pieces of what they believed to be bone fragment that were collected and sent off to the lab to see if any DNA or any connection could be made to Bonnie.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
Based on the version of events that Nathan gave, we felt comfortable charging Roger Carroll with first-degree murder of Bonnie Woodward.
A man linked in 2010 to the disappearance of Bonnie Woodward today has been charged with her murder.
I thought, wow. I mean, they're actually charging somebody for murder.
But not so fast. Some critical evidence will be unveiled in court, which could upend the case. The DNA on those bone fragments, it's not what police expected. Roger Carroll pleads not guilty to the murder of Bonnie Woodward, but he's facing some tall odds. He may just not understand how tall.
One of the key pieces of evidence turned out to be a sassafras tree.
Yes.
Tell me how you decided that you were going to try to bring that into the courtroom.
I'll be honest, we didn't decide it. It was kind of thrust upon us by an investigator in Jersey County, and all of us were kind of like, yeah, go ahead, whatever.
It isn't every day a tree becomes a star witness in a murder trial, but this was never your ordinary everyday case. So how would it factor in? Well, that and over 100 other key pieces of evidence are finally being presented in court, nearly a decade after Bonnie Woodward went missing.
I thought everybody'd give up. I mean, I didn't know what else to do, and him being charged with Bonnie's murder gave me life again. And I thought, let's do it.
The why question is very difficult in this case because there's not a clear-cut motive.
Given what you were up against, the fact that you didn't have a body, you didn't really have a motive, you didn't have a weapon, how confident were you that you could get a guilty verdict?
My partner and I said this is just never going to get any better. We have everything we're ever going to get, so we thought we'd swing the bat.
In my years as a prosecutor, I did 5 cases where the victim's body wasn't found. And it's a gamble. So sometimes what you'll do in lieu of that is you have the person declared dead. It can, depending on the case, really help the jury.
We took note that now it had been 8 years that Bonnie had not been seen. So one of the first steps we had to take was to have Bonnie officially declared deceased. And we're able to obtain a death certificate based on the circumstantial evidence that she had not been seen.
My name is Jennifer Schock, and I was juror number 2.
What had you heard about the case?
I hadn't. I truly came in there not knowing anything prior.
And when you realized how big a case you were deliberating on, what was your reaction?
A little nervous to have that much pressure put on me to basically decide somebody's future.
In opening statements, the prosecution detailed what they say happened during Bonnie's kidnapping, including the fact that Roger Carroll's fingerprints were found on her car. They also brought in Roger Carroll's suicide attempt.
The jury must decide if Roger is guilty of first-degree murder. The earlier charges against him and Monica for harboring a runaway, Heather, would be dismissed. The defense opened up by vowing to poke holes in the state's case, particularly taking aim at the son, Nathan Carroll, telling the jury his story changed only after being granted immunity, or what they called a golden ticket.
Nathan was on the stand for a good 2 to 3 hours, maybe more. I mean, just like in the grand jury, you could hear a pin drop in that courtroom while he's testifying.
Because family secrets are spilling out in this courtroom.
Yeah, I mean, he's telling a cold, hard, disgusting story that clearly there was no doubt that was truthful.
Nathan testifies that he heard gunshots and told the jury in gruesome detail how he helped his father burn Bonnie's body.
I think Nathan realized his dad tried to kill his mom, and that's just crossing a line. If you think about Nathan, he is a child, and he's being controlled by dad, and he witnesses something horrific.
The son, Nathan, testifies. And I'm told that it was a very stirring powerful testimony. What do you remember of it?
I remember that after Nathan testified, it was completely silent. It was just a silence through the whole entire courtroom afterwards.
Nathan's testimony doesn't really make sense. Nathan keeps saying he's reluctant, he did it anyway. Why would Nathan help his father do it? What's in it for him? It's a big mystery.
Nathan can be hard to read. He was ashamed.
He knew what he had done was wrong.
He knew what his father had done was wrong, and he knew that helping clean up was wrong. He was very remorseful.
A lot of the trial was built around corroborating what he was telling us was the truth. We didn't want the jury to just have to take Nathan's word for it. We wanted to show that it fit and matched all the forensic evidence in this case.
But the defense just keeps chipping away at that evidence, including those 27 bone fragments that were found on the property. In fact, there's a rather big bombshell in store for the jury.
Bones were found, but they're not the bones of the deceased.
We were never actually able to find DNA of Bonnie Woodward on these bone fragments. We were able to say that these were bone fragments believed to be of human origin, but we could not definitively say that they were Bonnie Woodward's.
In fact, it's not clear if they're human bones or animal bones, or whether they're bones that were from an Indian burial many years ago.
Prosecutors argued that the bones were degraded by the fire, which Nathan described, that burned Bonnie's body. And to prove that there actually was a fire on the property, the prosecution used an unexpected method and witness.
Nathan identified the burn spot on this ridge behind the house. And where the burn spot was, there's a sassafras tree. The sassafras tree has a scarred spot on the bark several feet up the tree.
So we go over there, cut down the tree.
Cut slices out of the tree. We sent him off to a botanist. He examined the tree, its age, its growth rings, and said that tree was damaged in the early growing season of 2010, spring or summer.
That tree damage, according to the testimony of a botanist from the University of Wisconsin, was reminiscent of a fire and appears to have happened at the same time Nathan claimed Bonnie's body had been burned.
As a prosecutor, why is that critical?
That fire, others have testified, had to be quite large to burn a body like that, down to the fragments that we found.
There's a question, was there actually evidence of a fire? Or is it a fire around the time of 2010? Or is it not a fire? That's questionable.
Heather Woodward, Bonnie's stepdaughter, takes the stand and tells jurors that she told Roger about Bonnie's whereabouts and her work schedule.
How did Heather do on the stand? What was her testimony like?
It was pretty short, and I think the way that Heather was in the police interviews is the way she was on the stand.
I never want nothing to happen to Bonnie. I mean, sometimes, she's mean, but I wouldn't do that to her.
Her testimony, it pretty much tracked with that, but it was clear to those involved that she had not participated in her mother's death.
What made her cry on the stand, do you remember?
Every time she cried, it was because she said, I never wanted this to happen to Bonnie. I never meant for this to happen to Bonnie.
Bonnie's boyfriend Gary took to the stand too and told the jury about what was lost when Bonnie's life was cut short.
He wouldn't look back at me for nothing. I kept looking across where he was, and he wouldn't look at me, so I started talking to the jury to my right, and I said he took away a good woman, mother. I let him know what kind of person Bonnie was.
I have an old supervisor, before I started my very first no body case, which I'll never forget, he said, always remember, the jury can see the soul of your victim reflected in the eyes of those who love them.
When it was their turn, the defense team laid out a case that pointed the finger at Nathan as Bonnie's killer and argued that without him and the so-called golden ticket, the state's case was just circumstantial.
Nathan didn't have a choice. If Nathan didn't help his father dispose of this crime, Nathan's a dead man. And let's not forget, he was a barely 16-year-old boy.
Roger did not testify at trial. It's his choice whether or not to testify, and he decided not to.
He was advised not to testify. Many attorneys advise their clients not to testify because, for one thing, they think it will shift the burden. They think the jury is going to look at whether they believe the defendant, and suddenly the defendant has to prove his innocence, which he normally doesn't have to do.
After 5 days, the case is now in the hands of the jury.
It was back and forth all the way.
Those moments are always very tense.
We would get close, and then somebody would say something else, and then it would throw everything off.
What was the hang-up then?
The cases have been presented, and now the verdict is in the hands of the jury.
It was back and forth all the way, truly, till the end. We were back and forth. And we thought we would get close, and then somebody would say something else, and then it would throw everything off.
What was the hang-up then?
We all agreed that he definitely had a hand in this. The hang-up was basically, did he do it, or was he covering for someone else that did it?
When you finally reached a decision, what was the feeling in the room?
Relief. We truly did our due diligence on deliberating correctly.
We were notified that the jury had a verdict, so we all went back to the courtroom, and those moments are always very tense.
Roger Carroll was found guilty of first-degree murder.
And so when the verdict was read, how did the courtroom respond?
Crying from both sides, happy on Bonnie's side, sad on Roger's side, and again, Roger never made any emotion. He just sat there.
He didn't even react?
Mm-mm.
What went through your mind when you heard the verdict?
Bonnie, that finally she could be at rest. I don't believe in the word closure. It doesn't exist in my mind, but that Bonnie can now rest peacefully.
By the time of sentencing, the charges against Roger for domestic violence and obstruction were dropped.
At the sentencing hearing, Roger was given the opportunity to make a statement to the court, and he chose to use that time to be defiant.
He said, I don't have anything to be sorry for. I won't apologize because I've done nothing wrong.
And that says a lot about his mindset.
Sure does.
When I heard the jury found him guilty, that was a blessing to my ears to hear. Wish he could have got more time than he did.
He was charged with first-degree murder while using a firearm. He received 40 years in the Department of Corrections for the murder, plus 25 years for the gun enhancement.
At least they did lock him up, and I give him that. The police finally making him pay for what he did. Roger Carroll robbed her kids, her grandkids, friends, family. But we won't never forget her, and we won't forget him.
People describe her as somebody who had a really loving heart.
Oh no, she definitely did. Like, even, especially with family, like, didn't matter what you did. She would figure out a way to just make it better.
You really loved her.
Oh yeah, like, she was great.
Sometimes I'll look up at the sky and tell her I don't know if I'll be there, but I hope someday I will and see you again.
So many of Bonnie's loved ones wishing they could see her again. Bonnie Woodward's killer, Roger Carroll, is appealing his conviction.
He was granted permission for that appeal by the Illinois Supreme Court, and his case will likely be argued this fall. That's our program for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir from all of us here at 2020 and ABC News. Good night.
One family.
Oh my God.
Possible 45.
Two horrible tragedies. That's pretty dark stuff. At sea and on land.
My father, he is in bed and someone shot him in the head.
Do you remember what you noticed?
First thing I thought is this crime scene is staged.
Linda always felt that she deserved more than what she was getting, because she and my dad were always butting heads.
We've got no weapons, we've got no enemies that we know of.
That we know of. And no more details, because she disappears.
I told her not to go on that boat.
So she went out of the way to give them information in case something happened.
Yes, indeed. It's just getting wilder and wilder.
Because in the middle of the ocean, nobody can hear you scream.
Every fisherman has a story about the one that got away. And this is Nathan Carmen's. The 22-year-old was set to meet up with his mom, Linda, for a late-night fishing trip out here off the coast of Rhode Island. But for Linda, the trip was less about catching bass and more about bonding with her son.
Fishing was one of the things that brought them together, and that was Linda really giving herself to the experience because Linda hated fishing. Linda didn't eat fish, but she thought this is the only thing that made Nathan happy, and she wanted to connect with her son in any way possible.
That was a common occurrence. They used to go either weekly or sometimes bi-weekly.
Nathan and his mother, they'd taken a boating course. They had some fundamental knowledge, but they stuck pretty close to land and were fishing for stripers and blues.
Nathan's experience was, I would characterize him as a recreational fisherman.
Mom and son planned to cruise toward Block Island in this boat, which Nathan recently bought, one that just passed inspection by the Coast Guard a month earlier. That's comforting to Linda, who has a better to be safe than sorry approach when it comes to boating.
So she begins to tell her friends about this fishing trip and shares information as to where they're going to be at specific times during that trip.
Linda is so cautious. She even texts photos of the boat and its registration number to her friends so it could be easily spotted if the boat breaks down.
You're relying on your engine, you're relying on electronics to get you there.
On a starless night with calm seas, the two depart Ram Point Marina in Rhode Island at about 11 p.m. Linda texts her friends that the journey is underway. The boat is never seen or heard from again.
One of my sisters had called me and said Linda and Nathan are missing. And I kind of freaked out.
Linda's friends begin to worry on Sunday of that weekend because Linda had claimed that she was going to come back and text them when she arrived.
Linda always did a float log. And, you know, when Linda got back, she'd call her friend Sharon, and Sharon never received the phone call.
That's when two of her best friends reach out to authorities and say, something has happened. There are two missing boaters off the coast of Rhode Island. We need your help.
It started out as a typical missing persons investigation, which is not criminal in nature. Our first order of business is naturally to find the missing people, gather the facts and circumstances to try to determine how they potentially went missing. Oftentimes people are not missing, they're just overdue.
The U.S. Coast Guard quickly begins a search over the Atlantic.
The United States Coast Guard really deployed every available resource that they had to find this missing boat. They deployed fixed-wing aircraft, reconnaissance planes, Coast Guard cutters.
Given the nature of the success rate that the Coast Guard has with search and rescue, I was very, very shocked that they were not finding anything.
We defer to the Coast Guard for search and rescue efforts. In that respect, they were really scouring the ocean, and the search efforts came up unsuccessful.
I think it was day 6 that the Coast Guard made a decision to call off any additional search. And at that point, they had covered 64,000 square nautical miles, which is a massive, massive search area.
So the Orient Lucky, which is a Chinese cargo ship, and they were out around 115 miles south of Martha's Vineyard as they were shifting ballast in their ship.
The Orient Lucky routinely travels the high seas picking up cargo, but this time it will make headlines for picking up something else. Lucky indeed.
They saw what they believed was an orange ball popping out of the ocean about 1 square nautical mile from where the cargo ship was positioned at the time. And when they got a little closer, they realized it was a life raft. And inside that life raft was a figure, a young man standing and waving a flag in distress. Getting this large freighter close enough to not kill Nathan Carman, but save Nathan Carman was a challenge. And I think the captain made a certain maneuver that allowed them to get a little closer to Nathan where they could deploy a life ring, and the life ring landed several feet away from where the life raft was. So Nathan then had to jump out of the life raft and swim.
The stunned crew members document the rescue with a series of photos and videos. Once he's on board, Nathan is offered hot soup, water, and dry clothes.
I got a call from my supervisor saying that Nathan had been recovered by a passing ship. I was shocked, and I was thankful that there was a survivor.
The rescue, a kind of needle in a haystack, becomes international news.
And a man lost at sea with his mother for 8 days has been found alive in good condition.
There were pictures of Nathan that were on the front page of newspapers all over the world, because everybody thought that this was a wild story.
Next tonight here, the family mystery at sea. More than 100 miles from land, the discovery, and authorities asking what happened.
Nathan, this is United States Coast Guard, Boston. Over.
Mom and I, 2 people, myself and my mom, were fishing, and there was a funny noise in the engine compartment. I looked and saw a lot of water. The boat dropped out from under my feet. When I saw the life raft, I did not see my mom. Have you found her?
No, we haven't been able to find her yet.
Nathan Carman is still on that freighter. He's expected to arrive in Boston tomorrow night.
So now we can start to maybe get some insight as to what transpired and why it transpired. But it was also concerning because Linda hadn't been recovered.
Happy to be back on land, but exhausted by his ordeal, Nathan heads home and asks for privacy.
I would just like to thank the public for their prayers and for their concern for both my mother and for myself.
It's not the first time this family has dealt with drama and tragedy.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
This is a nautical map. The area that Nathan departed from is right up here. His transit would have taken him down this body of water here. And that is the point in which one of the individuals traveling inbound observed Nathan and Linda on the boat. And that was the last time that anyone saw the boat.
In the days and weeks after his dramatic sea rescue, Nathan finds himself just as alone on land as he was at sea. And he feels like the media has gotten his story wrong, so he agrees to an interview with ABC News.
Well, it would be great to have people embracing you, saying, we're glad you're home, we're glad you're alive. It hasn't been that.
Loneliness seems to be Nathan's constant companion. He grew up an only child. His parents divorced when he was little. Kids made fun of him at school.
I heard people trying to imitate him or, try to make fun of the way he spoke. And I've definitely seen people mock the way he ran down the hallway.
I got the impression that a lot of people didn't try to talk to him, and maybe that kind of contributed to his loneliness or feeling isolated and uncomfortable being in crowds and with other people.
His best friend in the world was one who wouldn't judge him, a horse named Cruz.
Yes, I was very fortunate in that regard, and I was able to really form a strong bond emotionally.
Cruz and Nathan had a very tight bond. It was definitely his best friend, his confidant. I went to the stable once with Linda and Nathan. We were ready to leave the stable. I said, well, where's Nathan? Go on in and get Nathan. She's like, no, Nathan loves to spend time with Cruz alone before we leave. And he was there for probably a good half hour, if not longer, just spending time with Cruz in his stall.
But when Nathan is 17, that bond shatters. Cruz dies. Devastated, Nathan runs away from his Connecticut home. Nathan doesn't stop running until he reaches Virginia, 600 miles away. That's where a sheriff's deputy finds him.
Running away from home was something that I felt that I had to do at the time. I don't fully understand or comprehend that sitting here now.
A couple of interesting things Nathan had on him on his possession when he was found in Virginia. He had $4,000 in cash. That money had been given to him by his grandfather, but he also had a couple of photos of his horse, Cruz. And he had a Ziploc bag with some of the horse's hair in it.
His parents drive all night to Virginia to bring Nathan home.
Clark Carmen told me that Nathan had fled to a horse farm, or that's where he was supposed to be going, in Florida, because Nathan had told his father that that was a place that he could feel normal.
Nathan is diagnosed with Asperger's, which we now know as autism spectrum disorder. Social interactions and communication skills can be challenging.
I'm not someone who understands relationships or who's good about talking about emotions.
But Nathan does share a close relationship with his grandfather, John Chocolos, a wealthy real estate developer who made his fortune in the nursing home business.
My dad had 5 sisters and 4 daughters, and then he had his first grandchild. That I think Linda was really excited that she had a boy to bring into my dad's life.
And then Nathan comes along, and he's your uncle's first grandchild. He doted on him.
Right.
How excited was he to have a grandson?
I mean, there's not really even words for it. He had such great hopes for that kid.
Tell me about the daughters in the family.
I think they were all different individuals. Elaine was the oldest. The next one down was Linda. She was more like John, personality-wise. Charlene is the next one down. Valerie's the youngest. I think she was kind of like the apple of John's eye.
My grandfather was the closest person to me. He was like a father to me, and I know I was like a son to him.
When it comes to business, Nathan, a teenager, has a pretty unusual role at his grandfather's company, one that requires him to look and listen closely.
John Chocolos brought Nathan to all of his business dealings because John Chocolos was hard of hearing, and Nathan was his both eyes and ears at every business meeting. They would consult each other after the business meetings were completed. So I think that, you know, John Chocolos was grooming Nathan to take over the family business.
I got the feeling that John had a very good relationship with him and was trying to cultivate that. Nathan was as introverted as John was extroverted, I think.
What was his relationship like as Nathan is growing up? You said there weren't enough words.
He kind of treated him the same way that he treated me when I was a kid. You know, I mean, he couldn't do enough for him. The only problem with it is that John always looked at a problem. If there's a problem, if you throw enough money at it, it's going to solve it.
John Chocolos doted on Nathan, gave him anything he wanted, whether it was a credit card or a new truck or a new apartment. There was nothing that Nathan needed because John was always there with his checkbook or his credit card to give Nathan anything he wanted.
With a support system like his granddad, Nathan's future could be limitless. until one phone call changes everything.
Oh my God! Oh my God! The front door was locked. Oh my God!
Possible 45.
Oh my God! I don't even know what to do. I don't even know where to look.
Windsor, Connecticut, a typical small town. Pretty nice community. You know, not a lot of crime. Murders in Windsor are very rare.
Not rare enough for the man living on Overlook Drive. John Chocolos was a self-made man here in Windsor, Connecticut, running his multi-million-dollar real estate business out of his modest home. That is until the morning of December 20th, 2013. Police arrive here after getting an urgent 911 call.
Okay, what's the emergency?
I came to check on my father to pick him up for an activity. He is in bed and someone shot him in the head.
Is he still alive?
I don't think so. I walked into the bedroom and there's blood all over the back wall.
When I saw the news and my dad being brought out, you know, in a body bag, and them saying it was a murder, and I lost it. I lost it. I fell to the floor and I'm crying hysterically.
My name is Scott McGregor. In 2013, I was a detective for the Windsor Police Department. Mr. Chocolos was found in a bedroom on the upper part of the house. In his bed, we found him that he had been shot 3 times.
The scene says a lot to the detective, not for what's in the house, but for what isn't.
You obviously start looking for evidence, and when you can't find spent shell casings, once again you go back to whoever did this, you know, took the time to retrieve those casings and not leave evidence behind. That kind of tells us that the person planned this out knew to cover their steps, which ultimately makes our investigation harder.
Sergeant Chris McKee also gets the call to head to Overlook Drive, a quiet street with a quiet resident who wasn't exactly well known around town. How did he fit into the community in terms of how he had accumulated his wealth? Was he kind of like a little local success story?
I gotta say, he ran in his circles and his business circles. He wasn't known in Windsor, you know, and I was very active in community roles in the department, and like I said, I wasn't aware of him until this investigation.
McKee walks into a bloody scene. You're looking around the room. Do you remember what you noticed?
A little further down from Mr. Chocolos' bedroom, there was a glass door, or a door with glass panes that led into the backyard. The officer and I observed that there was broken glass.
A break-in?
Well, it looked like it was meant to be a break-in, but looking at it, it was very clear that the glass had been punched from the wrong side, and it was very suspicious. First thing I thought is this crime scene is staged.
The recently widowed victim was known to keep cash in his house, but after the shots were fired, the gunman left. The money still there. Was there any sense that it had been ransacked or robbed?
There had been large sums of money in the house and other valuables, and honestly, nothing appeared touched. It told me that this was personal.
The devastated family speaks out on local news, hoping to catch a killer.
My father, while he lived a small life, he was a very large man. And to know him, you could never forget him.
Anyone could have done this.
This person killed at least once that we know of. This person's gotten away with murder. And chances are it will happen again.
When we start any murder investigation, we want to do a timeline. We want to start trying to find out who was with John.
My father, my mother passed November 21st.
my father for 2 weeks was staying with one of us, or Linda was staying at my father's house.
Another curious thing about the home, it doesn't exactly look like a millionaire lives there. One of the victim's daughters explains why.
My father has an elaborate estate. I mean, the man's worth at least $40 to $50 million. I mean, it's huge. You wouldn't know it going into the house. That's the only reason why I'm bringing up my father's financial worth. Is because looking at this house, you would not know that he has a 25,000 square foot house up in New Hampshire.
You find out that this is a prominent businessman, a wealthy businessman.
Yep.
What does that say to you initially about this?
Kind of starts to focus investigators in on, was this financially motivated? Did someone have, this gentleman had a lot of money, a lot of properties, did someone have something to gain financially from his death?
The videos of the Windsor police interviewing various family members have never been broadcast before.
Nathan and I went fishing. We went out of Point Judith, Rhode Island.
Okay.
So we went on a cod trip that left at 6 in the morning, got back into port at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
A long day.
We learned that John, the day before, the last person to see him was his grandson, Nathan Carmen. We learned that through talking to Nathan, talking to family.
Hey Nathan, what's your last name? My last name is spelled C-A-R-M-A-N.
We have to treat everyone as a possible suspect. Family, associates, people who worked in the office, neighbors, anything. Anyone could have done this.
Investigators asked Nathan about employees at Chocolos's company, and the grandson mentions one who, he says, complains about being overworked and underpaid.
Just that I'm underpaid, also the stress load. I have 101 things to do. I have to get all these papers in. Now you're asking me to do this and the other thing. So he would bitch and moan about that.
The bookkeeper is, in fact, stealing from the Chocolos's company.
So obviously he's someone we want to talk to.
Nathan begins outlining his final evening with his grandfather to investigators. It begins with dinner. He was going to come here and eat that night with Nathan.
That was the plan, and he wanted me to come too. Yeah. And, I said, look, you guys go do it. If I only knew what I knew, now.
After their meal, Nathan and his grandfather return to the Windsor home. At some point, John Chocolos gets a phone call and puts it on speaker.
I think that there's a real possibility that the person who called him may have been a mistress. I don't like saying that my grandfather was doing that, but I think there's that real possibility.
It wasn't one of your aunts?
No, it was not one of my aunts. It was not one of my aunts, no one in the family. Very young, 20, 30. And he then told that female voice to just wait. Hold on a second. He showed me to the door.
Nathan Carmen is correct. There is a young woman Chocolos has been talking to.
And she became a suspect. Did you go anywhere else that night or anything like that? Or did you just stay home?
No, I didn't sleep because I was supposed to be at meet my mom at 3 o'clock. When I fall asleep, I have difficulty waking up. So I tried to stay awake. I did run out to Stop and Shop, and I got some ice cream for myself. I picked up a few AAA batteries because I was out of them, and then I headed home. Then I stayed until I went back out to meet my mom.
Investigators don't have much to go on, with the exception of some security camera footage, which they use to retrace the last days of John Chocolos's life. Like this casino video, where the 87-year-old is seen with a much younger woman. Will it provide investigators with answers? The Windsor Police Department may not know who killed John Chocolos yet, but they are beginning to understand who did not. Remember the woman Nathan heard on the phone? And the woman at the casino? They are one and the same.
So John Chocolos struck up a relationship with a 25-year-old woman over the course of a year.
She was an acquaintance of John who was going to the casino, staying overnight. The night of the homicide, she confirmed that she had talked to John, but she was kind of quickly dismissed as being involved.
Investigators have also tracked down that bookkeeper Nathan mentioned. His name is William Sati, and he too is cleared.
He had an alibi that night and was confirmed. I think he was actually out of the state at the time. I think we found him in Rhode Island.
While cleared as a suspect in the murder, Sati was later convicted of stealing some $400,000 from Chocolus' company.
But that's small change compared to the money the patriarch was handing over to family members every year.
One of the problem children was Linda. Linda was taking John's allowances and going off on spending sprees at casinos or going skiing or taking these lavish trips around the world.
Linda always felt that she deserved more than what she was getting. I don't know why she felt that way. I don't know, because she and my dad were always butting heads.
Father and daughter also butt heads over the way Nathan is being raised.
The relationship between John and Linda was always volatile, but one day it turned violent. And that was over Nathan's care. Nathan was put into a psychiatric hospital shortly after his horse, Cruz, had died. And the accusations begin to fly. Linda accuses John of smothering her son with all sorts of riches, and John is yelling at Linda, saying that she is a bad mother and that Nathan is normal and that Nathan should be treated as such. And at one point, John reaches across the table and grabs Linda by the hair and starts to pull it. So Linda swings and she starts to fight back at her father. And it's a combustible moment that probably lasted a minute plus. And they're swinging at each other, they're fighting each other, and the orderlies are summoned as well as the local police, and Linda is arrested right on the spot.
Linda chalks it up as two people cut from the same cloth.
I don't back down from my father. Yeah.
And that's just his personality not to back down.
Yeah, sure. And it's not his personality back down either. So if anyone would have fought with him, you know, it would have been me.
Linda has spent many more years fighting to protect her son from those who might treat him unkindly.
I know he led a very lonely life. It's at the age where kids were being invited to birthday parties and, having play dates. And nobody was calling for Nathan to go to the birthday party. And, it was sad. And she hated that for her child. Any mother would hate it if her child wasn't included in anything. But yeah, it must have been hard for Linda not being able to fix that. Linda was a fixer. Linda had to fix things, or at least try to fix things, and she just could not fix that.
Linda and Nathan had a very unique and conflicted relationship. Nathan saw his mother as somebody who was incredibly domineering, and Linda was always trying to get him the therapy that she thought he needed. And I think Nathan wanted to get as far away from his mother as possible because Nathan didn't want to feel different from anybody else.
And with his grandfather, Nathan feels like a success. He learns about business, he's a confidant to John Chocolos, his college tuition is paid for, and so is the rent on his apartment and his credit card bills. Linda couldn't compete with that.
I think what it comes down to is Nathan's always felt torn between me and my father.
Picking sides.
Like he had to pick a side.
How's your relationship in general to your mother?
I did move out of our house, and when we were not on good terms, but I since started speaking to her again. Probably about a year ago.
Did that concern you at all in terms of looking at him as a suspect, that maybe he might exhibit behavior that you wouldn't normally see, but he does have a disorder?
That was a concern of many of us, are the behaviors we're seeing, are the answers he's giving in that one interview that he did grant, are these more aligned with behaviors perhaps of someone who is on the autism spectrum? Or can we look at these for what we normally would kind of think This is kind of sketchy, a little suspicious. We want to delve more into this.
Was your grandpa involved during that time?
Yes, my grandpa. He facilitated financially my ability to go off on it.
So for Linda, the recent fishing trips are a way of pulling her son back into her life. But now there's the murder of her father to deal with and lots of money at stake. Everybody is under the microscope.
Do you own any weapons?
No.
Anybody else in the family own any weapons?
No.
Anybody have access to any weapons? Anybody that knows anybody that has weapons? Nothing at all. Okay. So we've got no weapons, we've got no enemies we know of.
That we know of.
Do you own any firearms?
I do have an air gun. I'm not sure if that counts as a firearm, but...
Is it the only?
Yes, it is.
But after speaking with a long line of friends, family, and business associates, investigators are about to realize they've been lied to. In the wake of 87-year-old John Chocolos's brutal murder, investigators have few leads, with one notable exception: fragments of the bullets fired at the victim. There's hope that they could be traced back to a possible murder weapon. What kind of weapon was used to kill him?
It was believed to be a rifle because it was a .308 cartridge, a certain type of bullet.
And a ballistics test concludes the gun used was most likely a Sig Sauer rifle like this one.
But in the wake of the Newtown massacre, these types of weapons were illegal to own in Connecticut, where Chocolos was murdered.
The detectives focused a lot of their attention on New Hampshire. They scoured gun dealers, I think well over 600 gun dealers, looking for that Sig Sauer rifle.
Eventually, investigators make their way to a place called Shooter's Outpost and speak with salesman Jed Warner about recent purchases. He remembers an interaction with a customer just weeks earlier.
He definitely stood out because he looked like he came off like a construction site. His pants were dirty. He was wearing like a pair of like dirty boots, like a construction feel about him. We started talking about rifles and targeting. He said, actually, I'm very interested in the Sig Sauer 716.
It's an expensive rifle, retailing for almost $2,000. Jed says he suggested other options that were more economical for target shooting, but the buyer knows what he wants.
We do all the paperwork, do the background, he passes. He just kind of walked straight out, and that was the last we saw of him. 2 officers from the Windsor area were there, and then a local, like a Connecticut ATF agent. We had to like go through all the stuff, try to figure out the day of sale.
And there they find it, a bill of sale for a Sig Sauer rifle. The name of the purchaser, Nathan Carmen.
And that became an incredible aha moment for investigators and potentially the smoking gun in this case.
After the discovery at Shooter's Outpost, Nathan is asked again about owning any guns.
And since, because I just wasn't feeling safe at home, I did buy a shotgun.
You did buy a shotgun?
That's correct.
Any other purchases of a firearm anytime?
No.
And that wasn't ever volunteered or brought up till investigators found this out-of-state bill of sale and then confronted Nathan with it.
And how did he respond?
Well, he acknowledged that he had bought this weapon. When asked about it, he said he lost it, and he didn't know where the gun was.
That had to be really a red flag for you all.
It was.
Most people don't lose those firearms or any firearm. But yeah, you don't normally hear, I don't know where it is.
And there was no report of him, making a report that it was stolen, lost, etc.
So what are you thinking at this point? You've been kind of connecting these dots.
Well, it gets better. There was at least 1 hour of unaccounted time during which Mr. Chocolos was shot that Nathan couldn't account for his time.
Linda arrives at this Home Depot parking lot at 3 a.m., where she and Nathan are set to meet up to go fishing. But Nathan is nowhere to be found.
You left your house on about 3?
And we know you got to Glastonbury, based on your own words, on or about 4. Why would it take an hour to travel, and I'm guessing 20-something miles, at the rate of 65 miles an hour? It's just mathematically not possible.
On or around 3. About 3.
So
perhaps after.
But this security footage taken outside Nathan's apartment complex shows him leaving at 2:57 a.m. Linda tries calling her son 3 times, but his phone appears to be turned off. He finally calls her back at 4:01 a.m.
Did you think you were closing in on an arrest?
I thought so. Yes.
I have to ask you straight up, were you involved in your grandfather's death? Did you kill him?
Absolutely not. No.
But that potential smoking gun, the Sig Sauer rifle, is still missing. Despite a months-long extensive search of Nathan's apartment, the Chocolose estate, and surrounding areas for that crucial piece of evidence, it's nowhere to be found.
And I think that's exactly what they were pinning their entire case on, was that murder weapon. Had they found it and connected it to Nathan, then Nathan would have been in handcuffs.
And so law enforcement was directed to keep working to try to build the case.
This had to be frustrating.
It just tears at you because, you know, you think you've got it. The family had put up a huge billboard on Interstate 91, you know, and coming and going to work every day, I would see that. I would see Mr. Chocolose's face. I would see, you know, reward money for information.
Even though Nathan is under a cloud of suspicion, he's still a free man, but feels like he's an outcast in his own community now. So he takes a portion of his inheritance that had been given to him by his grandfather, and he leaves the state. He travels to Vermont, and he buys an historic farmhouse, and he also bought a boat.
Nathan buys a 31-foot fishing boat, formerly called the Chicken Pox. He plans another fishing outing with his mom, Linda, who has stood by him throughout all the accusations.
And Linda is very excited about that opportunity, but also very concerned because she knows that her son is not an experienced fisherman or an experienced boater.
Linda tells friends that the plan was to fish off the coast of Block Island and head back the next morning.
She was so concerned that she had a text message conversation with people ashore, and that's a smart thing to do, to let people know what your plans are.
So she went out of the way to give them information in case something happened.
Yes, indeed.
When Linda fails to check in, her friends start to worry.
2 of her best friends reach out to authorities and say, something has happened, we need your help.
At first, we were like, okay, hopefully it's just they're overdue and they're going to come back to shore.
But after several days elapse, authorities search Nathan's home and vehicle and find some alarming items.
We start thinking that he may have intent to either harm himself and his mother or both of them.
How did you get word that something had gone wrong with that?
My cousin Charlene called me and told me that they were missing. And I said, I told her not to go on that boat.
Here is Nathan in a 31-foot aluminum boat with his mother, who's got no experience boating, and he thinks that he's the master fisherman or the master boater. Or does he think this is the perfect place to kill his mother? Because in the middle of the ocean, nobody can hear you scream.
But what really happened on that boat? Nathan Carmen answers tough questions under oath.
How often did you lie to the Windsor Police Department?
There was one inaccurate.
Staring out at that open water, probably wondering what happened to my mother, or thinking, did I just get away with murder?
His mother is still missing and feared dead.
And the question becomes, what happened? Everybody wants to know what happened.
I didn't know if she had been dragged down with the ship.
Neither of us had been wearing life vests.
The media coverage was huge.
I'm just asking you to defend yourself against these people who are saying that you did something to your boat that would make it sink.
Yeah, we're done for this evening, period.
He was shooting himself in the foot on national TV.
It is absolutely unfair for the police to use the tragedy that happened to my mother and I as an opportunity to try to nail me for a murder that I didn't commit.
Nathan's grandfather, John Chocolus, had been shot to death 3 years prior to the disappearance of Linda Carmen. And once those connections were made, the story amplified.
You were convinced that Nathan had killed his grandfather.
Correct.
And now you're convinced that he killed his own mother?
It's a story about greed and heartless brutality.
Mr. Chocolus was found in a bedroom on the upper part of the house, in his bed, shot several times in the head. We have to treat everyone as a possible suspect. Anyone could have done this.
But my sisters had told me they suspected Nathan. And that just totally blew me out of the water.
The daughters of John Chocolus got very angry that there was really nothing happening with the case. They couldn't find the murder weapon. They hadn't arrested Nathan Carmen.
And it's just getting wilder and wilder.
Could a family be this burdened to have a second catastrophic event? I didn't know. This is slowly starting to move from a missing persons case to something other than a missing persons case.
It's been 3 years since John Chocolos's murder, with no charges ever filed. Now, the family is facing yet another tragedy as Chocolos's grandson, Nathan Carmen's boat sinks on a fishing trip, with Nathan's mom, Linda, missing and presumed drowned. We're going to head out on a ride on the open water to get a better idea of what happened out here. I met up with Dave Farrell, a maritime lawyer for Nathan's boat insurers. So let's pick up with when the Coast Guard gets involved in this.
They had a lot of vessels out here. They had a lot of aerial searches, and they were really crisscrossing an area that eventually was 64,000 square miles.
That's a big coverage area.
Yeah, the state of Georgia.
And then 2 days later, there's a big shock.
The Orient Lucky finds a life raft 106 miles south of Martha's Vineyard, and in it is Nathan Carmen alone.
With his crew already snapping pictures and recording video, the ship's captain is alerted to a life raft in the water.
After spotting Nathan Carmen and his life raft at sea, I sounded the alarm for our crew to prepare for the rescue efforts, and we were ready to rescue him.
They threw him a life ring, and he grabbed it with his hands. He got dragged up toward the hull of the ship. He was able to push off the side of the ship with his outstretched hand, and he was able to climb up the gangway.
He got onto the ladder. We pulled the ladder up on board.
When Nathan gets aboard the Orient Lucky, the kid looked like Aquaman. There was no physical distress in his well-being. He wasn't dehydrated. He was not hypothermic.
The captain of the Orient Lucky doesn't see anything wrong with him. This is astounding.
I got the call from my supervisor that he'd been located and recovered. I was shocked, and I was thankful. I was happy that there was a survivor, but it was also concerning because Linda hadn't been recovered.
When I found out that, Linda was lost at sea and, I knew she wasn't coming back, it was just, I just had flashbacks of us growing up and just, the good times that we did have. And then, of course, the guilt and the regret that I had of how I treated her in the end. You just don't think that you're going to lose somebody so suddenly like that.
We receive a call from the Coast Guard that Nathan was picked up by a merchant vessel in the shipping lanes in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. First thing you say is, okay, where's Linda? Linda's not with him, just Nathan.
Back on land, with his lawyer present, Nathan's interviewed by Alfred Bucco, an investigator with the South Kingston, Rhode Island Police Department. This audio's never been broadcast before.
I just went in there and said, Nathan, tell me what happened.
We went out to Block Canyon. It was light, but the sun wasn't over the horizon yet. And we started trolling. Okay. And I heard strange noise coming from the engine compartment. So I opened up the hatch in front of the pilot house, and I saw that there was a lot of water in the bilge.
He went and shut down the engine and moved aft to where his mother was.
He said he told his mom to reel in the lines. How did he describe what was happening with the commotion?
He said to his mother only one thing during this calamity, and it was reel in the lines. And she said only one thing in return, okay, I will. At that point, he went up into the wheelhouse, and he says that he started moving emergency gear up to the bow. He wasn't quite ready to abandon ship, but he wanted to be ready.
I didn't realize we were sinking. Okay. I knew there was water in the bilge. I knew there was a lot of water because it was already up to that level, just why I wanted to bring the safety stuff as a precaution. Okay. But I thought I was going to find the problem and fix it.
The third time that he's been in the wheelhouse and failed to radio, he's walking forward to the bow, and all of a sudden, in a split second, the boat sinks.
Boats don't sink that fast.
No. And it sank quickly, like immediately it was out of sight. And that's how he says he never saw his mother again.
He calls for his mother throughout the rest of the day. And he said upon nightfall, you know, he gave up trying to search for her and he went to sleep and then drifted through the Atlantic Ocean until he was located. So let's get back to your mother. You talk to her, you know, all the time. You know, you go out fishing twice a week. How would you describe, you know, your relationship with her? Is it good?
I don't see the relevance to this particular incident here. Yeah, I concur.
You don't want
interview's over. Thank you, though.
After the interview is over, from our perspective, we're like, okay, this isn't just a missing persons investigation. We may be dealing with maybe a homicide.
Captain Heng Dong observed Nathan walking the deck of the Orient Lucky for hours at a time by himself, staring out at that open water, probably wondering what happened to my mother or thinking, did I just get away with murder?
And soon, the whole world will hear from Nathan Carman in his own words.
She'd always been kind of reluctant about safety. I guess she had good reason to be.
New developments in that mystery at sea. Rescued after 8 days in a life raft, searchers had given up.
Nathan Carman and his mother went fishing last week. He survived the ordeal, but his mother didn't make it.
Now authorities are trying to figure out what happened.
The media coverage was huge. This was a story that made headlines around the country.
Initially, Nathan avoids the media, but eventually agrees to an interview with then ABC News correspondent Lindsay Janis in 2017. At his suggestion, they meet at a park near his home.
So take me through that evening. You met at the marina in Rhode Island, and then what?
We met at the marina in Rhode Island, and we had bait, which we got on board. And as we were heading out into the harbor, I asked her a couple times in the past, will you go to the canyons with me? And she'd always been kind of reluctant about safety, and I guess she had good reason to be.
While Nathan and Linda were still missing and the Coast Guard scouring the Atlantic, investigators back on land began searching through their vehicles here at this marina, looking for clues that might help in the search.
It looked like he had been somewhat almost living out of his truck or sleeping in his truck. We found some receipts from different marine stores.
items purchased at area marinas in the hours before the fateful voyage included a rock-type anchor that would never have worked for Nathan's boat, and then some lengths of chain. They were curious purchases.
But there was also a bucket of eels that was in Nathan's truck. That stood out to me because eels are often used as bait when fishing for striped bass. And if you left the dock and didn't take your bait, what are you using for bait if you're going fishing?
Nathan tells us the same story he told police, that his mom had been concerned about safety ahead of the boat trip.
And I want to stress that it wasn't an argument, because I want to stress that it was not an argument. She had always been kind of skittish. We're stopping right here with that question.
Oh, okay. But why not reach out for help? The Coast Guard said there was no Mayday call.
I had a radio, and there was also an EPIRB, which is an emergency position indicating radio beacon, on the boat, like someone needs to be medevaced, or when you know you're sinking. But I didn't know that we were sinking until we sank.
Nathan said that there was a lot of commotion going on and the water was being taken on in here. So where would his mom have been when all of this is happening?
Right where you are.
So she would have been right back in this area?
Yes.
But they're not speaking? I mean, and she doesn't know that they're going down?
Nathan has excellent line of sight on her the whole time, and yet he says he never saw her afterwards.
At that point, I didn't know if she had been dragged down with the ship, because neither of us had been wearing life vests. I assumed that if she had been on the surface, that she would have been calling out to me and I would have been able to find her.
According to Nathan, days go by and he huddles on the life raft, keeping a lookout for rescuers.
I was looking out at the horizon for other ships or for helicopters when conditions were good. When the waves were high, because they got to like 13 feet and they were breaking waves at a few points, a few days.
It must have been terrifying.
Yes.
But to some, Nathan's claim of drifting for over a week in rough seas before being rescued defies belief.
The initial videos showing this guy walking up the gangway of the ship without any great problem. He seemed to be just fine.
You would be in dire straits after, 5 or 6 days.
If you laid on that couch for 8 days and you got up to go to the bathroom, your legs would be wobbly because you haven't used them.
At the same time that Nathan and Linda's vehicles were searched at the docks, police in Vermont were conducting a search of Nathan's house, which was under construction.
The investigators find, modems, SIM cards, a few other things. The one thing they don't find is a computer. Whatever computer he was using to conduct his online purchases has disappeared.
Another item that was seized during the search was a lengthy letter that Nathan had written to an unknown priest that described his relationship and his view of his mother.
My mother's bullying, calling me a quitter, a stuck-up snob who thinks he is a king, and a piece of basically characterized my childhood. One night, though, I went to bed imagining myself as essentially a master of my own hell, joying in inflicting grave bodily suffering on other people. So, yeah.
After his interview with Alfred Bucco, Nathan has all but stopped talking to the police and is never questioned about the letter or his missing computer. Reporter Lindsay Janis is one of the few people he is willing to talk to.
I know I wasn't responsible for anything that resulted from the boat sinking. I know I wasn't responsible for my mom's death.
You were convinced that Nathan had killed his grandfather.
Correct.
And now you're convinced that he killed his own mother?
Yes.
That's pretty dark stuff.
If the interview hadn't already made Nathan's story seem a little fishy, the follow-up was even more eye-opening.
I did not cause my mother's death. We're done here this evening.
If you have nothing to hide, there shouldn't be a problem answering the questions.
Oh, hi, Dave. Nice to meet you. Hi, how are you?
I'm Matt. Nice
Hi,
to meet you.
Matt, nice to meet you, Matt. Thanks so much for taking us out. Initially, when everybody else was scratching their heads and wondering, wow, this poor guy, what happened to his mom? For the average person out there who's looking at this and taking it at face value, folks who know the water, like you do, had your doubts.
Absolutely. People had doubts about this story from the beginning.
With Linda Carmen presumed lost at sea, her reportedly tumultuous relationship with her son Nathan was under renewed scrutiny. He sits down with 2020 for a second interview, which now holds new significance.
If someone said that you did not get along with your mother, that you did not like her, is there any truth to that at all?
No, there's not any truth to that. Our relationship had grown from where it had been. We did have a challenging relationship at one point in my life, but she was the closest person in the world to me after my grandfather passed.
Will you inherit all of what your mother had?
That's something that I can't comment on at this time.
But unbeknownst to Nathan, his mom has decided not to leave him any inheritance. She even records a video message obtained exclusively by 2020 explaining that he won't be getting her house.
Hey, big guy, I guess if you're watching this, you're watching this. I want to explain why I did what I did and why my will is stated the way it is. I feel that when you moved out, you took everything that was of value to you and everything you wanted. That's my feeling.
And in her written last will and testament dated 3 years before she disappeared, Linda explicitly excludes Nathan as a beneficiary.
By now, more details of John Chocolos's death and the subsequent investigation have risen to the surface.
Initially, the media was unaware that Nathan's grandfather, John Chocolos, had been shot to death in his bed 3 years prior to the disappearance of Linda Carmen. And once those connections were made, the story amplified. It wasn't a bittersweet rescue story anymore. It was something potentially much more devious.
So, at what point in your life would you say that you became really close with your grandfather?
Here's where I have a bit of an issue. My understanding was we were going to be sitting down and we were going to be talking about
yeah, the raft is my
survival
next
at sea.
bit, but we did explain that we need to hear about your whole life leading up to this incident.
Something
How can people know who Nathan is if we don't tell them? What was your relationship like with your grandfather?
I'm not talking about my relationship with my grandfather or with. If you want to ask me any more questions on that line, we're done here.
Can you tell me more about what your grandfather did? He was a big figure in this part of the country.
That's not what this interview is about.
He gets really defensive if people pry a little bit too much. And the way that he shut her off on so many questions and wouldn't cooperate, he was shooting himself in the foot on national TV.
Since we spoke a week ago, there's been a lot of speculation. People are suspicious of you. What do you want to say to those people who are saying something about his story that just isn't adding up?
I'm not aware that those people exist.
There are suspicions about the boat trip. Since we last got together a week ago,
I've said the way it happened.
I'm just asking you to defend yourself against these people who are saying that you did something to your boat that would make it sink.
That's not true.
Nathan had never been interviewed at length by a network or by a reporter, so this was something new to Nathan, and I think Nathan thought it was going to go one way when it certainly went another way.
Was there an issue with the boat that needed to be fixed?
No, there were. We're done.
Nathan, I'm trying to give you an opportunity to speak out against these allegations that have been made.
The only way that I can speak out against them is to say what actually happened, and that's what I've been trying to do.
Another thing that's happened since we last got together, police searched your mom's home.
Yeah,
Did you know anything about that?
We're done for this evening, period. We're done
We're
here.
not trying to make you uncomfortable. We're trying to give you an opportunity to answer some of these allegations.
We're done here this evening.
If you have nothing to hide, there shouldn't be a problem answering the questions.
He walked out. He walked out of the interview, only to come back.
Police never arrested you for the murder of your grandfather. Do you think it is unfair that people are bringing that up and talking about that now?
It is absolutely unfair for the police to use the tragedy that happened to my mother and I as an opportunity to try to nail me for a murder that I didn't commit.
Can you understand when people see that you were the last person to see two people alive? They see that and they say you are either the most unlucky man alive or you had something to do with those two deaths. What do you say to that?
I say that there's no relationship.
Later that month, Nathan holds a memorial service for his mom. It's sparsely attended by some of her friends. Linda's sisters are notably absent.
Now, Linda hasn't even been declared dead yet. Nobody in his family is willing to go because many of us in his family believe that Nathan is truly the culprit.
I'm very grateful to the friends and family who attended in memory of my mom.
Nathan, you've been through so much. How have you been these last several weeks?
It's been very difficult.
We had no boat. We had no body. But as in any investigation, there's always evidence that can be recovered. It's just a matter of making sure that you know where to look.
There's all hands on deck at that point to try to uncover the truth.
As with the death of John Chocolos, according to investigators, there isn't enough evidence to charge Nathan with a crime. But in a twist of fate, a seemingly innocuous insurance claim for the sunken boat is about to take the saga of Nathan Carman in an unexpected direction.
Some of these strange occurrences maybe could be chalked up to an inexperienced fisherman, a guy who's panicking.
You know, I spent a lot of time with Nathan. I think he was cold, calculating, and had this whole story planned out to explain the disappearance of his mother and the sinking of the vessel.
The idea that he drifted for a week in that life raft just didn't hold water for you.
Not even for a second.
The Nathan Carman case was incredibly explosive. A young man is plucked out of the ocean. That just conjures up all of these images of, say, Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Author Casey Sherman has spent the last 2.5 years researching the case for his new book, Blood in the Water.
The story is so complex and it has so many layers to it. Not only do you have one potential murder, but it's the story about a family and how wealth can corrupt.
As investigators continue digging into Nathan Carman's story of being lost at sea, he takes action, filing an insurance claim for $85,000 to recoup the loss of his boat, the chickenpox.
It happened very promptly, and that indicated to me that this guy's really serious.
The insurance company is not going to pay Nathan. In fact, they are going to take Nathan to court. Nathan also didn't back down.
We filed our suit to deny insurance coverage. We were in for a fight. We came away with the distinct impression that almost everything he said to us was a lie. There were holes in every aspect of his story.
Holes in his story and his boat. Here at this marina where Nathan's odyssey began, fellow boaters noticed odd behavior in him the day before that fateful trip.
It kind of caught my eye when I saw him leaning over the back and drilling 2 holes in the transom of the boat. I asked him, "What are you doing?" That's why he told me, he says, He's taking the trim tabs off.
Trim tabs are stabilization devices that help lift the boat up higher on the water. Nathan admits to removing them, leaving holes in his boat, but says he patched them up with a marine putty.
I patched the holes. They seemed to be well patched. And at the time my mom and I went out, I felt that one, I knew those holes were above the water line, and two, I felt that they were securely patched.
The idea that he was patching up those holes, that putty, the patching didn't work?
It wouldn't work. My theory is that he was trying to make it look like he was deliberately altering the boat in a dangerous fashion.
So that maybe it looked like he made a mistake.
He's very calculating. He wanted people to be able to point to, oh, no wonder the boat sank.
Attorney Dave Farrell represented Nathan's boat insurance companies and has looked into Nathan's account of what happened for years. Nathan's story is that his boat started taking on water, but he failed to put out a distress call because he didn't think the boat was sinking. One would think then maybe he would call out for help, the Mayday situation, right? Did he do that?
No, and he had ample opportunity, because each of the times that he went into the wheelhouse to carry gear forward, he was within arm's length of the microphone for his VHF radio, and a good one.
This is where the emergency equipment is, right? Here?
Yeah, right here. A microphone within arm's reach. And he came in here 3 times to get survival gear and bring it up to the bow. So he was within an arm's length 3 times he could have picked it up.
All of these things sound pretty odd. Maybe you can chalk them up to panic, an inexperienced fisherman, but you would have to have hard evidence to really show that he wasn't where he should have been.
I got an oceanographer to assess whether it was possible for him to drift in a life raft to where the Orient Lucky picked him up 7 days later.
And was it?
Absolutely impossible. Physically impossible.
I looked at drifting buoys, I looked at historical data, I looked at thermal images of the Gulf Stream rings. All of these different systems showed the currents going westward, and Nathan claimed he drifted eastward. And that did not make any sense.
And Nathan's aunts aren't buying his alleged fish tales either.
New twist in a story making national headlines involving Nathan Carmen.
They file what is known as a Slayer petition, which prevents a person from inheriting property from someone they murdered.
Nathan Carmen's aunts do not want him to inherit that money, and they say essentially profit off of 2 deaths they believe he caused.
When Nathan walks into court, he's actually got a suit, and he's cleaned up, he's shaven.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Nathan Carmen appearing on my own behalf.
He looks like a young, aspiring law student.
The loss of my mom has been extremely difficult for me, so I can sympathize with petitioners in that respect.
He ended up taking depositions. He ended up going into court and arguing motions.
I'll say that some of the petitioners had awfully substantial motive. And I had very, very little.
He ended up putting up his own defense.
You saw him sort of tell the truth the whole
But in this deposition obtained by 2020, it's Nathan in the hot seat.
This is the deposition of Nathan Carmen.
Did you have a close relationship with your mother, Linda Carmen?
I would say that I did, yes.
When asked to respond to claims that he lied to police during their interviews with him in 2013, Nathan clams up.
How often did you lie to the Windsor Police Department?
There was one inaccurate. I'm pleading the 5th.
Pleading the 5th as to lying to the Windsor Police Department after your grandfather is dead.
That's
Is
what
that
he
correct?
said.
Okay. Nathan pleads the 5th 81 times during this deposition.
I plead the 5th. I plead the 5th. I plead the 5th. And I plead the 5th.
Meaning he declines to answer questions to avoid potentially incriminating himself.
I plead the 5th.
That's damaging to Nathan, I think, in the public's mind. Who takes the 5th? You know, mobsters take the 5th. Gang lords take the 5th. Not somebody that's completely innocent.
Nathan Carmen caught a legal break today after a judge told
tossed out the lawsuit his aunts had filed to keep him from collecting millions of dollars from his grandfather's estate.
The judge dismisses the case after he rules John Chocolose wasn't a resident of New Hampshire.
The newspapers reported it as a tremendous win for Nathan. I wasn't too troubled by it.
Nathan is off the hook for his family lawsuit, but his insurance case is looming, and investigators have him in their sight.
Pieces of the puzzle had started to come together.
There were too many inconsistencies.
There's no such thing as a perfect crime.
Nathan Carman and his insurer head to court in Providence, Rhode Island, battling it out in what would be Nathan's biggest legal challenge yet.
Was Nathan at fault for the sinking of his boat, or was he owed a payday?
Nathan Carman and his lawyer saying absolutely nothing, heading to Providence Federal Court this morning for the first day of the civil trial against Carman.
He's got everything to lose here. If the court determines that he is negligent in his mother's death, that can open up the potential for criminal charges. Nathan at times was very agitated during the trial, but he was also very active, always leaning over and having conversations with his attorney. And he was right in the thick of things.
He takes the stand, sticking to his story of what happened on that boat. What was he like on the stand?
He is very articulate when he wants to be, very exacting, but also very evasive.
Nathan had no emotion when he testified. That may be because he is on the autism spectrum. And he talked about his mother in a way that she was more of a nuisance than she was a help to him while that boat was going down.
The judge asked him, "What's going on with your mother during all this time?" And Nathan's peculiar answer was, "My mother was part of the problem rather than the solution to a sinking boat."
With the case now in the judge's hands, Nathan talks to the media outside the courthouse.
This isn't about money. It's an $85,000 claim. I almost feel like I have a responsibility to my mom to make sure that the truth comes out.
At the end of the trial, the judge rules that Nathan was negligent with regard to the sinking of the chicken pox.
That was a small victory for me because at least a little bit of justice was prevailing through it all.
The civil case acted as the de facto criminal case. FBI investigators, Coast Guard investigators, attorneys, prosecutors, they all had front row seats.
Now it transitions to his house in Vermont.
Pieces of the puzzle had started to come together and had started to paint a picture for us that this was in fact a criminal act.
There were too many inconsistencies. There were too many things that just didn't add up.
It became very, very clear that Nathan had committed a crime on the high seas.
We don't have a body, we don't have a boat, so it's a very, very difficult case to try to prove. The grand jurors have to decide, is there enough evidence to proceed and indict?
It took several years, but Nathan Carman is now charged with killing his mother.
Nathan agrees to meet with investigators, but has no clue what's about to happen.
Nathan was surprised when he was advised that he was under arrest for the murder of Linda Carman.
It was like something out of the golden age of piracy. Nathan was charged with murder on the high seas.
According to an indictment, Carman devised a scheme to defraud his grandfather's estate and to obtain money from the trust, and the murders were part of this scheme.
However, the indictment doesn't charge Nathan with the murder of John Chocolose.
Medical records, school records.
Nathan hires defense attorney Marty Manella.
Marty Manella is a long-time, very bulldogged litigator, and when he met Nathan, he not only found a client, but he found a son.
He had literally no support. That was probably the hardest thing that Nathan had to endure, the fact that he had no one. But he had us. He really had us. And I had never in 50 years of practicing law had that kind of relationship with a client. Never.
As he's escorted into federal court for arraignment, cameras catch Nathan defiantly proclaiming his innocence.
Not guilty.
Before pleading not guilty to the court as well.
During Nathan's detention hearing, his aunts write a letter to the judge saying that if you let him go, they would be in fear for their life.
I was very relieved that Nathan was going to be put behind bars. If Nathan was not arrested and not contained, I really think he would have gone on a murder spree.
For years, Nathan had lived in solitude in Vermont. He had never threatened anyone. So to me, it was unusual that they were in fear of what?
The court sides with his aunts and denies Nathan's bail, setting a trial date for October 2nd, 2023. Marty and his team get to work.
It was a huge undertaking, and it was a daily, 7-day-a-week thing. It really became part of our lives.
Nathan was incredibly active in his defense. Every waking hour when he wasn't in his jail cell, he was at the prison library, poring over legal books.
This case was his whole life. He wanted his day in court. He wanted to clear his name.
The day of June 15th, 2023, came as a shock. They were just a few months away from trial.
We've learned Nathan Carman has died while awaiting a trial for his mother's death.
I got a call in the morning. Nathan was gone, and he hung himself. And I just cried.
Nathan took his own life. He wasn't depressed. He wasn't despondent. We were all looking forward to that October date so that we could have this trial.
Despite all the family court battles and accusations, Nathan's aunts come to pay their respects at his funeral.
I attended Nathan's funeral. Myself and my sisters were there. I was very sad.
Nathan's attorney paid for the funeral, paid for his cremation, and then gave his eulogy.
Non-violent and loving young man. Sleep with the angels, my dear friend. It was probably the toughest thing I ever did because it was like losing a family member. May sound crazy. You lose cases, you lose clients, but you don't have that kind of contact that we had with this person.
I think he is both a victim and a villain in his own story. Nathan Carman remains an enigma.
The criminal charges against Nathan were dismissed. So in the eyes of the law, Nathan is an innocent man still today.
Months after Nathan Carman's funeral, a Connecticut judge officially declares his mom, Linda, deceased 7 years after she disappeared at sea. The Windsor Police Department tells 2020 that John Chocolos's murder case is still active.
Believed that Nathan was buried in the family plot next to my dad. Nathan, the child, belongs where he is. He needs to rest.
That's our program for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir from all of us here at 2020 and ABC News. Good night.
राजी रहन प्यारे यार बचाना। अखियां दा जद नूर ना रेया फेर किए लग करने। अखियां दा जद नूर ना रेया फेर किए लग करने। Yeah.